Chapter 1145. Follow me back to Anton Commandery City. There's no need to continue with this trial. With the Wind Immortals and Fire Immortals attack and Emperor Xia's decree, Han Ting directly exempted Qi Heng from the upcoming trial. Thank you, General. Qi Heng was also very happy that he didn't have to waste time here. Next, he needed to fuse with the first-grade Earth Fiend. It would definitely be much safer if he secluded himself in the Rain Dragon Guard's base. Returning to the Anton Commandery City base through the teleportation array, Qi Heng entered his cave, sealed the door, and began cultivating in seclusion to condense the Earth Fiend. First-grade 5 Elemental Earth Fiend is not bad. Although compared to the Origin Pure Aura from the Continent of Origin era, this thing was trash. In this current era, first-grade Earth Fiend was already the best Earth Fiend Aura one could find. Luckily, after fusing with the Earth Fiend Aura, I can still improve my quality through cultivation. Otherwise, I wouldn't dare to condense the Earth Fiend. After undoing the chaotic Earth technique and allowing his cultivation to return to normal, Qi Heng began absorbing the Earth Fiend Aura to condense the Earth Fiend. Earth is the foundation of the Earth. First, fuse with the Earth Fiend. Taking out the jade box containing the Earth Fiend Aura, Qi Heng reached out his hand and absorbed the Earth Fiend Aura. Power of the Earth, condense the Earth Fiend. Boom. A dark yellow earth evil Qi shot out from the seal of the crystal ball. A dark, decaying cloud of smoke rose up like a signal. Apart from nurturing all things, the earth could also decompose all things. This Earth Fiend Aura represented the power of the earth's decay. Inhale. Opening his mouth, the dark, decaying cloud rushed into Qi Heng's mouth. The Purple Mansion phenomenon appeared. The sky was filled with stars. The entire cave was like a river of stars. Decay. Decay. When the Earth Fiend Aura was sucked into the Purple Mansion suddenly darkened. An endless amount of decaying aura surged. As if it had experienced millions of years, the stars dimmed and the spirit lake dried up. The entire Purple Mansion seemed to have fallen into a state of decay. Vegetation withers, all things grow, and all things die. This is the essence of the earth. Life and death are both the power of the earth. Dense earth energy surged and intertwined with the decaying Qi, fusing with each other. There was no starry sky or spiritual lake in the Purple Palace. There was only a ball of light where life and death intertwined, where growth and decay coexisted. When the Qi of growth and Qi of decay completely merged into one, a thick, dark yellow earth slowly spread out in the Purple Mansion. The fusion of the Earth Fiend is complete. Qi Heng exhaled and waved his hand, pulling out another beam of murderous gold. Earth can produce gold. The second step is to integrate the murderous gold aura. Time continuously passed by while Qi Heng was in seclusion to condense fiendish Qi. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Boom! The cave suddenly shook. Metal, wood, water, fire, earth, the 5 elemental earth fiends had officially fused. Inside Qi Heng's violet palace, there were no longer stars and phenomena, only a vast expanse of earth. The land that nurtured all living things was also the land that decayed and buried all living things. Plants would wither, metals would rust, rivers would dry up, and flames would be extinguished. Life and death were constantly reincarnated on this land. At this stage, as long as one's spirit and Qi fuses, one will be able to form the primordial spirit. Qi Heng chuckled. The Xia Emperor wants me to participate in the conclave of immortal destiny, but I won't be able to immediately ascend to the primordial spirit realm. I'll use the 10 million liquefied elemental essence to temper my body and improve my Hunyuan bloodline. Qi Heng found this conclave of immortal destiny rather interesting. If any golden immortal Taofather wanted to take in a disciple, only to discover that the disciple was a classmate, they would probably feel quite helpless, right? Listen to the Tao at the Profound Yellow Palace. Everyone was under the tutelage of Taofather Profound Yellow. Would you dare take in a classmate as a disciple? Wouldn't you be afraid that Doubtfather Profound Yellow would give you a slap? Who cares about that? Chi Hing chuckled, then waved his hand and released 5 million kilograms of liquefied elemental essence. The crystalline liquefied elemental essence surged out, filling the entire cave abode as vast amounts of spiritual chi churned and churned. If it weren't for the restrictions on the cave abode, this surge of spiritual chi would have caused a major change in the heavens. It would have easily caused a rain of immortal light and auspicious vapors to rise. 5 million caddies of liquefied elemental essence. What level can my body of the great earth reach? Clasping his hands together, all the pores on his body opened and began to continuously absorb the liquefied elemental essence into his body. The vast amount of spiritual chi was constantly being absorbed, nourishing the Hunyuan bloodline within his body and causing it to grow continuously. The almost undetectable strand of Hunyuan bloodline continued to absorb the spiritual chi, nourishing it, growing, and strengthening it. Rumble. It was as though every single cell in his body was rumbling violently. Thanks to the evolution of his bloodline, every single cell in Chi Heng's body was reborn. The newly born cells faintly glowed with a dim yellow light, and the rich power of the earth began to surge within his bloodline. As his bloodline grew, Chi Heng's body grew even stronger, and he grew 3 inches taller. Overall, Chi Heng's figure was still tall and slender, but his body had grown even stronger. His physical strength had become absolutely terrifying. The earth can bear all things. After absorbing all the liquefied elemental essence, Chi Heng's joints began to crackle as his tremendous blood and chi began to churn. He faintly emanated a vast aura that was as vast as the earth itself. My body of earth has finally broken through to the realm of bearing all things. Chi Heng's face was full of joy. Bearing all things means not only that my body's strength is greater, but more importantly, my defense. Bearing the weight of all things meant bearing nothing, being able to bear anything. Let's see how strong my defense is. With a wave of his hand, Chi Hing took out an Earth Immortal flying sword from the Wind and Fire Immortal's spoils. He swung it down heavily on his arm. Clang! As though striking steel, the flying sword made a metallic clang when it hit his arm. The sword didn't even manage to cut off a single hair on Chi Heng's arm. Not bad, my defense has surpassed that of an Earth Immortal treasure. Although it's still far from the Hunyuan true body of my past life, it's still not bad in this situation. Chi Heng's strength had improved tremendously since he could ignore the attack of an Earth Immortal treasure. If he were to face the Wind and Fire Immortals again, Chi Heng wouldn't even need to use the lava to deal with them. He could directly face them head-on and destroy them. As long as I don't run into a celestial immortal with my current strength, even if I can't beat them, I won't have to worry about my life. Chi Heng was even more confident now that his strength had improved. Even if Beishan Yin still wants to pester me, even if he gathers 6 itinerant immortals to attack me, I won't be afraid. His body of earth had already reached minor success. Even if an Earth Immortal attacked him with a magic treasure, he would be able to take a few hits without being injured. In this situation, even if he couldn't beat them, he could always run away. Chi Heng, come out quickly. At this moment, General Han Ting's voice came from outside the cave. General Han, you're looking for me? Chi Heng was a bit surprised by Han Ting's arrival. He walked to the door and opened the cave's door. General, is there something you need? There's a guard mission. Han Ting took out a command talisman and handed it to Chi Heng. The heir of the God-plumed Duke, young Flame Nong, is coming to Anton County to train. The God-plumed Duke sent a letter asking me to take care of him. I think your strength is just right for the job. Consider it a favor. Young Flame Nong? Chi Heng recalled that when he killed Northmont Fox, he heard Northmont Fox talking to someone about the heir of the God-plumed Duke. Alright. Since Han Ting said he would help him, Chi Heng didn't want to refuse. He took the command talisman and nodded in agreement. However, Chi Hung also had a plan. If this young flame gnome dared to act arrogantly in front of him, then Chi Hung couldn't be blamed for teaching him a lesson. Chapter 1146. Another plot where we team up to fight for treasures? Liu sat upright in the air, a strange smile on his face. Then, let's play a new game. With a wave of his hand, a writing desk appeared before Liu. On the writing desk there was a complete set of brush, ink, paper, and inkstone. I was born in Kangwoo Academy on South Parting Island. Zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting are all compulsory skills. I haven't done these for many years. I almost forgot that I was born in a Confucian sect. Opening the painting scroll, Bosley picked up the brush and dipped it in ink. Then, he began to paint. The plot of a Chinese ghost story needs an ending. The brush moved like dragons and snakes, and the ink was thick and light. In a few moments, a scroll was born under Liu's brush. The entire picture scroll was dark and gloomy. Most of the places were covered with thick black clouds. Only a huge black mountain stood in the middle of the picture scroll. All right, the background is complete. Tossing aside the brush and ink, Liu turned to look in the direction of the great Xia dynasty and smiled. Young man, let's play a game. He grabbed the scroll and threw it out. The scroll silently tore through the air and landed in a vast mountain range in Anton County of the great Xia dynasty. The scroll slowly unfolded, and a glimmer of light flashed through the pitch-black ink. In an instant, it turned into a boundless black sky. The painting scroll slowly descended, and the immortal abode in the mountains below was silently and unknowingly sucked into the painting scroll, becoming a part of it. In the pitch-black scroll, the scene of a palace shrouded in black mist appeared. The female lead has to be in place. With a flick of his finger, a dot of light flashed faintly in the pitch-black scroll. The female lead of a Chinese ghost story, Xiao Qian, was suddenly sucked into the scroll from the Blacktooth tribe by an invisible force. Liu nodded with a smile. The final chapter of a Chinese ghost story. Let's officially start. Anton County City. He didn't know that Chi Hung, who had been selected as the actor, had already met up with young Flame Gnome, the heir of the Divine Plume Duke. Are you young Master Chi Hung, the Wanxiang itinerant immortal slayer? I've heard a lot about you. When the elegant young Flame Gnome, dressed in a brocade robe and wearing a golden crown on his head, heard Han Ting introduce Chi Hung's name, light flashed through his eyes, and the smile on his face became even more amiable. Thank you for your help, young Master Chi. I am extremely grateful. With a young hero like young Master Chi, my trial this time will definitely be completed perfectly. Young Master Young Flame, you flatter me. Chi Hung answered indifferently, not caring about young Flame Gnome's attitude at all. How could Chi Hung not know what young Flame Gnome was planning? Whether she was thirsty for talent, open-minded, or approachable, didn't she just want to take Chi Hung under her wing by putting on such an attitude? In Chi Hung's eyes, in this world, only Dao Ancestor Black Yellow was worthy of admiration. The others were just ants. A mere young Flame Gnome wanted Prime Hunyuan to submit to him? Do you think you're Dao Ancestor Black Yellow? How dare you treat me so coldly? A hint of displeasure flashed through young Flame Gnome's eyes, but he instantly concealed it. The smile on his face didn't fade in the slightest, but a hint of coldness appeared in his heart. A lowly mountain peasant dares to not know how to appreciate kindness? Humph, I have plenty of methods to make you obedient. Young master, the carriage has been prepared. A gloomy old man walked up from behind young Flame Gnome, bowing as he reported to young Flame Gnome. Shangliu? Seeing this gloomy old man, Chi Hung frowned slightly. This person is the so-called fiend god of this world. Compared to Chi condensation cultivators, he is indeed much stronger. However, in my eyes, primal divinity fiend gods are still nothing more than ants. The carriage has been prepared. Let's depart. Young Flame Gnome nodded, then walked towards an enormous and luxurious dragon boat that was docked at the peak of the Rain Dragon Guard Mountain. Young master, these are 2 guards sent by the Northern Mountains Marquis Estate. They are of some use, so I'll let them stay. After boarding the flying boat, Fiend God Shangliu Fong pointed at the 2 kneeling youths and reported to young Flame Nong. It's them? Those 2 cultivators from Northmont Fox's estate? Chi Heng looked at the 2 kneeling youths, then realized that they were Shui Hongyi and Bu Yu, whom he had seen when assassinating Northmont Fox. The Northern Mountains Marquis Estate has troubled you. Young Flame Nong nodded towards the 2 kneeling youths, indicating for them to rise, then turned to look at Chi Heng. Laughing, he said, originally, with young Master Chi's assistance, this training exercise should have been no problem at all. However, we are going to an immortal estate. The Witch River Immortal Estate. There are countless monsters within the immortal estate. We don't have enough manpower to deal with them. Young Master, your subordinate has already read up on some information regarding Anton Commandery City. At this moment, the Fiend God Shangliu Fong took out a scroll and handed it to young Flame Nong. Young Master, this is a list of the young heroes of Anton Commandery. You can choose some people from here. Young Flame Nong accepted the scroll, then flipped through it. Black-White Academy? Jining? Not bad. Not bad. I've heard of the Black-White Academy as well. Then let's choose some people from there. Yes. Shangliu Fong accepted the order, then pressed down with his hand. A vast amount of spiritual energy flowed into the flying vessel, and with a rumbling sound, it instantly soared into the skies, transforming into a golden, dragon-shaped streak of light that flew away at high speed. Young Master, Ji Ning's group is currently in the territory of Swallow Mountain. The flying vessel soared through the skies. Soon, it arrived at the territory of Swallow Mountain, in the air above a vast lake. Serpent Wing Lake? Chi Heng stared at the lake below, then chuckled. That fellow Ji Ning, after joining the Black-White Academy, he returned to Serpent Wing Lake? The flying vessel slowly descended, landing near the island in the center of the lake. Young Master Ji Ning, I am young Flame Nong. I would like to invite you all to accompany me on an adventure to the Witch River Immortal Estate. The graceful young Flame Nong stepped out of the flying vessel, then clasped his hands and bowed towards Ning and the others, stating the reason for his visit. Young Master Young Flame? Right at this moment, Ning's first girlfriend, Nine Lotus, hurriedly stepped forward, then bowed deeply. Dong Yen Yun pays her respects to you, young Master Young Flame. Dong Yen Yun? You are that Nine Lotus of the Dong Yen clan? I didn't expect to run into you here. Young Flame Nong nodded. Everyone, I need to bind the Witch River Immortal Estate for a clan trial. This is a celestial immortal estate. All I need to do is complete the trial. I won't be taking any of the treasures and fortunes within the estate. I sincerely invite all of you to accompany me on this adventure. Brother Chi. Ning didn't pay attention to what young Flame Nong was saying at all. Instead, he looked towards Chi Heng, who was standing atop the flying vessel. Since even Brother Chi was here, there shouldn't be any problems. If that's the case, then we'll accompany you in exploring the immortal estate, young Master Young Flame. Ning glanced at his fellow disciples. Seeing that they were all rather tempted, he naturally agreed. Ha 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 ha. Excellent. With the assistance of all of you young heroes, how can I not succeed? Young Flame Nong laughed loudly, then led Ning, Nine Lotus, Yue, and the others onto the flying vessel. Let's head out. The flying vessel soared into the skies, flying towards the Witch River Immortal Estate. Everyone was filled with confidence and high spirits, but what they didn't realize was that the Witch River Immortal Estate was no longer the original Witch River Immortal Estate. Chapter 1147. Everyone, below us is the Witch River Immortal Estate. Soon after, the vessel arrived at a vast mountain range, arriving at the mouth of an enormous gorge. Everyone, please wait a moment. Let me open the Immortal Estate. Smiling, young Flame Nong rose to his feet, then walked out of the cabin. He stood at the front of the ship, a golden talisman appearing in his hand. Rumble! Activating his elemental key, the golden talisman exploded forth with a golden pillar of light, illuminating a cliff in the gorge. Splash! The sound of water could be heard, and the walls of the cliff suddenly began to twist and distort, revealing an enormous expanse of water that rippled with light and roiled waves. Enter! Seeing this, young Flame Nong revealed a look of delight, and he waved his hand and gave the order. Swoosh! The flying vessel soared into the skies, instantly charging into the rippling light. It was as though it had passed through a curtain of water. In the blink of an eye, the world changed, and a different world appeared in front of them. The flying vessel charged through the curtain of water, and the scene before them caused their hearts to tremble. This was a pitch-black world. The entire world was filled with a dense black fog. Gusts of sinister wind howled, and the howling of the wind seemed to carry with it the endless wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. Sinister, cold, dark, terrifying. The scene before them didn't seem like an immortal estate at all. Instead, it seemed like the netherworld. In this pitch-black world, in the distance, an enormous black mountain stood tall. Vaguely, one could even make out a few towering palaces atop the enormous black mountain. However, this world was filled with a boundless aura of death. This enormous aura of death seemed capable of annihilating all life in the world. This. At this moment, young Flame Nong, who had always been so graceful and elegant, as though everything was under his control, was completely terrified. Uncle Fong, what's going on? This isn't the Witch River Immortal Estate. That's not what the information my family gave me. Young Flame Nong's face was filled with terror as he looked towards the fiend god, Shangliu Fong. Uncle Fong, this isn't the Witch River Immortal Estate. This place is very dangerous. Retreat. Rumble! Shangliu Fong immediately turned the flying vessel around, then charged back the way they had come. However, there was no way out. No matter how he urged the flying vessel to move, it was as though it had been locked down, unable to move at all. What's going on? What's going on? At this moment, young Flame Nong no longer had the demeanor of a noble family's young master. He looked completely panicked and out of his wit. The son of a wealthy family should not sit under the awning. When the rich sat under the eaves, they were worried that a tile would fall from above and injure themselves. Given young Flame Nong's status, as long as he lived well, he would be able to inherit the title of Godplume Duke. He would stand above all others and enjoy limitless glory. Initially, Zhang Xian had already gathered all of the information regarding the trial, and his preparations were perfect. He was confident that he would succeed. But now, this place was no longer the Witch River Immortal Mansion. It was the Netherworld. All the preparations were meaningless. The huge crisis made young Flame Nong unable to calm down at all. This place. Just as young Flame Nong was in a state of panic, Qi Heng and Ning stared at this dark world. They felt a sense of familiarity in their hearts. Why does it feel so familiar? I've never been here before. Could it be that this place has something to do with me during a certain reincarnation? Qi Heng furrowed his brows tightly. Kai-chan, hurry up and leave. Let's go. This is Black Mountain. This was the lair of the Witch of the Black Mountain. Hurry up and leave. Don't worry about me. Suddenly, an urgent and sorrowful cry rang out from the distant, enormous mountain. HM? Upon hearing this voice, Qi Heng and Ning were both startled, and their bodies trembled. Just now, did you hear that? Ning looked up at Qi Heng. That's Xiaoqian. Oh, spring grass? Black Mountain? The Witch of the Black Mountain? Qi Heng looked at the tall mountain in front of him, and pointed at his nose. I, the Witch of the Black Mountain, I, the Witch of the Black Mountain, am clearly still here. Could it be that there's another Witch of the Black Mountain inside? No, I have to go save Xiaoqian. Oh, spring grass. Ning's face was resolute as he turned to look at Chi-Heng. Brother Chi, don't worry, I'll go as well. Chi-Heng snorted coldly. I'm the Witch of the Black Mountain. I want to see who's the one playing tricks. Hey you, what are you talking about? Yu Wei, Nine Lotus, and the others by Ning's side all looked at Ning and Chi-Heng with puzzled expressions. That voice just now, or could it be that they didn't hear it? Chi-Heng and Ning looked at each other and suddenly realized that only the two of them could hear Nie Xiaoqian's call from afar. What you said just now, could it be that you know where this place is? At this time, the panicked young flame gnome came back to his senses. He turned to look at Chi-Heng and Ning and roared with a fierce expression, Speak! Speak! What's going on here? Are you the ones who framed me? You dare to set me up? You're dead. Dead. Shut up. Hearing young flame gnome bite like a mad dog, Chi-Heng frowned and roared at young flame gnome. Bastard! You dare to be disrespectful to me? You, a mountain barbarian, dare to be disrespectful to me? Uncle Fong, take him down. Young flame gnome, who had experienced a great change and was already hysterical, had long since torn off his mask of thirst for talent. His arrogant and brutal nature was undoubtedly exposed. Faced with an unknown danger, I didn't want to have internal strife. But brat, you dare to be disrespectful to me? This is a great crime. Go to hell. The fiend god, Shangliu Fang, let out an explosive roar. His entire body exploded with a sinister black aura, transforming into an enormous serpent that was more than 300 meters long. This enormous serpent had 9 enormous human heads on its head. Waves of highly toxic black aura sprayed out from the nostrils of the 9 human heads. Demonic might filled the heavens, boundlessly savage. This is a fiend god? Seeing Shangliu Fang reveal his true form, the faces of everyone on the ship changed dramatically. They were incomparably shocked. This was a true fiend god. A mangy serpent dares to be impudent in front of me? He had already killed 3 loose immortals. A mere primal fiend god was nothing more than an ant in front of Chi-Heng. With an explosive roar, Chi-Heng struck out with his palm. Rumble! A gigantic palm appeared, and the dense and heavy power of the earth surged out. The boundless power was so violent that it seemed as if it could even pierce through the void. Ah! The palm struck, and Shangliu Fang let out a miserable scream as he was sent flying backwards. He plunged headfirst into the boundless black fog, no longer making a sound. Ah! You! Shangliu Fang, whom he had placed high hopes on, was actually sent flying by a single slap from Chi-Heng. It was unknown whether he was dead or alive. This caused young flame gnome to scream in fright. Set sail. Head towards the mountain. Chi-Heng turned his head to look at young flame gnome, his eyes filled with monstrous malice. Oh, okay. Young flame gnome hurriedly activated his true essence, driving the flying ship towards the Black Mountain. However, his heart was filled with hatred. I'll definitely kill you. Brat, you must die. Chapter 1148. We are going to go to that Black Mountain? Seeing Chi-Heng's actions, Yu Wei of the Black-White College's face was filled with astonishment. That place is definitely the most dangerous place. If we go in like this... Just now, Shangliu Fang was planning to drive the flying vessel away from this place, but he wasn't able to leave at all. Ning turned to explain to Yu Wei. This place is very strange. There's no way to leave. The only way to leave is to go deep into the Black Mountain and find a chance to leave. Ning. Right at this moment, Nine Lotus stealthily moved closer to Ning, reaching out to tug at his sleeve. She sent mentally, Ning, your chance has come. Right now, young Master Youngflame is in trouble. If you rescue him, you will be his benefactor. With young Master Youngflame's support in the future, you will be able to make a name for yourself. Enough! Hearing Nine Lotus' words, Ning's heart was filled with a surge of anger. Sucking up to those in power and flattering them isn't my style. My future will be built by my own hand. There's no need for me to suck up to those in power. You are too naive. In this world, if you don't suck up to those in power, you won't be able to make a name for yourself at all. I'm helping you. Shut your mouth. Ning snorted. 9 Lotus, training in the Tao is training in the heart. My heart is upright. I won't do something like this. Don't say anything else. I'm doing this for your own good. A hint of tears flashed through 9 Lotus' eyes. She couldn't understand at all. Ning's act of pretending to be noble and virtuous was simply wrong. For the sake of his own benefit, for the sake of making a name for himself, sucking up to those in power was the best way. So what if he had to make a small sacrifice? The flying vessel continued to advance, and the surrounding black fog seemed to grow even thicker. Waves of sinister, cold air began to spread out. Even though the flying vessel's formations were protecting them, everyone still felt their entire bodies turn cold. Rumble, right at this moment, an enormous, heaven-shaking explosion suddenly rang out from the black fog in front of them. Roar! An enormous, incomparably enormous black serpent charged out from the pitch-black fog, its enormous serpentine tail sweeping viciously through the air as it smashed heavily towards the flying vessel. Shangliu Fang, this black serpent, 30,000 meters long, was Shangliu Fang, whom Qi Hing had struck into the black fog. But wasn't Shangliu Fang only 300 meters in size? Why did it suddenly become so big? And his aura was no weaker than that of an earth immortal. However, now was not the time to think about this problem. Block it! Block it! Clearly, Shangliu Fang had gone mad. Otherwise, he wouldn't have ignored young Flame Nong and directly attacked the flying vessel. At this moment, everyone on the ship struck out together, frantically pouring their spiritual energy into the flying boat to block Shangliu Fang's attack. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, the boundless force smashed heavily onto the flying boat. PFFF! The violent impact caused everyone on the ship to spit out a mouthful of blood. The violent impact sent the flying ship flying out of the air. Boom! The flying boat was sent flying far away. It plummeted rapidly and heavily smashed into the ground. This violent impact shook the people on the ship until their vision turned black. They fell to the ground and all fainted. Scholar! Scholar! How are you? After a series of violent shuddering, Ning slowly opened his eyes. Upon seeing this, Ning's entire body trembled. The sun was high in the sky and the heat was unbearable. In front of him was a pavilion that was located on a relay road. A man dressed as a merchant was shaking Ning as he called out to him. What's going on with me? Hadn't he been attacked by Shangliu Fang? Hadn't he been in a pitch-black space? Why had he suddenly become like this? Ning's head was filled with bewilderment. He couldn't figure out what was going on at all. Scholar, you suffered a heatstroke just now. The merchant, upon seeing Ning wake up, laughed and nodded. When I came in to rest, I saw you faint here. I had to spend quite a bit of time trying to save you. It seems you're pretty tough. Heatstroke? Me? Ning stared, slack-jawed. I'm an exalted Zifu disciple, just a step away from the Wanxiang level. How could I possibly suffer a heatstroke? He subconsciously summoned his ki, only to discover that his body was completely empty. There was no ki at all. This discovery caused Ning's entire body to tremble. I've lost my strength? I've become an ordinary person? What's going on? I didn't take your things. I picked them up and put them away for you. The merchant laughed as he pointed towards the pavilion. Your books and your travel permit are all in your cage. Travel permit? Ning was stunned. Since when did the Grand Xia dynasty have travel permits? Puzzled, Ning rose to his feet, then walked to the cage. Opening it, he pulled out the so-called travel permit. And then, Ning was completely stupefied. Ning Kaichen? I'm Ning Kaichen? Seeing the name written on the travel permit, Ning was so shocked that his entire body was trembling. I've returned to my previous life? I've returned to Ning Saichen's previous life? Brother, I'm not in a clear state of mind. I can't remember where I am right now. Brother, please tell me. Since he was Ning Kaichen, he had to first figure out where he was. Scholar, are you muddle-headed from the fever? The merchant shook his head. This is Jinhua County. It's only half a day away from Northern Gua. If you hurry, you'll be able to reach Northern Gua. If you really can't, you can stay at Lanrua Temple on the way. After speaking to this point, the merchant rose to his feet, picking up his load. Scholar, since you've woken up, I need to hurry on my way. We'll part ways here. Thank you, brother, for saving my life. Ning hurriedly clasped his hands in thanks. After watching the merchant leave, Ning sat down on the ground, his heart filled with waves of shock. Jinhua, Northern Gua, Lanrua Temple, Xiaoqian. Is this a dream of my previous life? He had heard Xiaoqian's voice in the Witch River Immortal Estate, and she had said that it was the lair of old monster Blackmount. In other words, after he had fainted, he had been drawn into a dream by the power of the Witch River Immortal Estate, and had dreamt of his previous life? Wake up! Wake up! Wake up! Ning viciously slapped the ground with his hands, causing his palms to swell up. He grimaced in pain, but still didn't wake up. When I was on Earth, I saw an article. It said that when humans slept, they would protect themselves. Once they felt pain, they would definitely wake up. Now that I'm in so much pain, I'm still not waking up? Then, I'm afraid it won't be that easy to wake up from this dream. Ning raised his head to look towards the front. Gritting his teeth, he climbed to his feet and picked up the chest. If I want to wake up from this dream, I'll probably have to make a trip to Lanrua Temple. Walking out of the pavilion, Ning walked along the road towards North Jinhua, heading towards the direction of North Gua. The weather in June changed so quickly. After walking for an hour, the sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. Torrential rain poured down. Damn it! He didn't have any divine abilities, nor was he able to fly. Even though Ning had covered the chest behind him with a curtain of rain, he was still completely drenched. Da-da-da! On the road behind him, a sound of horse hooves galloped over. Through the rain, Ning could see a figure galloping towards him on horseback. It was Adept Buyu, who had entered the Witch River Immortal Estate with him. Brother Boo, give me a ride. Upon seeing this companion, Ning felt a surge of joy in his heart. He hurriedly waved his hand in greeting. You have mistaken me for someone else. The man on horseback pulled on the reins, giving Ning a cold glance. I am the number 1 sword in the world. My name is Xiao. Ning stared, slack-jawed. No way. He didn't remember that he was Adept Buyu? Was this a dream, or had he truly returned to his previous life? Chapter 1149. A great hero, my body is weak, and I've just encountered a storm. It's hard to walk. Would you, who cared if he was walking or Xiao? If he could hitch a ride, who would want to walk? Ning's heart was filled with resentment towards his current status as a scholar who didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. No. The number 1 sword in the world, the Xiao swordsman, gave Ning a cold glance, then shook his head. You'll be a burden if I bring you along. Ning stared, slack-jawed. Fine. This reason was too strong. He had no words to refute it. The fine steed galloped forward, and the Xiao swordsman on the back of the steed straightened his back, as straight as a sharp longsword. This is too much. This is too much. Ning stared gloomily at the back of the Xiao swordsman, then angrily stomped his feet. If it weren't for the fact that I've lost all my strength, would I have needed your help? His plan to hitch a ride had failed. Ning had no choice but to carry the chest on his back, constantly moving forward, 1 foot deep, 1 foot shallow. The torrential rain continued to pour down, and the misty rain filled the air. The road beneath Ning's feet gradually became muddy, making it harder for him to walk. Kill! Kill! After walking for another 2 hours, the torrential rain finally stopped. But from a gorge up ahead, a series of sounds of battle could be heard. A gentleman doesn't stand beneath a collapsing wall. Right now, I'm no longer a Zifu disciple. I'm a scholar who doesn't even have the strength to truss a chicken. Seeing this, Ning hurriedly ran towards the mountain forest next to the road to hide. Hey! Don't come over. Hide over there. Just as he entered the mountain forest, Ning suddenly heard a soft, hushed shout from next to him. Someone's here? Ning was startled, and he hurriedly turned his head to look. He saw that behind a giant boulder in the mountain forest, the #1 sword in the world, his face cold and his sword intent bursting forth, was actually hiding behind the boulder, his face ashen. He looked completely terrified. You are hiding here as well? Ning stared, slack-jawed. Aren't you the #1 sword in the world? Shouldn't a hero of the Jianghu like you travel the world with your sword in your hands? Why have you become like this? Humph, what do you know? The Xiahou swordsman turned to glare at Ning. Of course I am the #1 sword in the world. But those people, they are the heavens. Upon hearing this reply, Ning was speechless. The reason was too sufficient and the logic was too tight. There was simply no way to refute it. Since even the Xiahou swordsman didn't dare to show himself, Ning began to feel interested in the battles between the two sides. Lying on the edge of the rock, he stretched out half of his head and carefully observed the battle ahead. Hiss! When Ning saw the two combatants clearly, his heart was filled with waves of shock. No wonder Xiahou swordsmen hid in fear. As expected, the #1 sword in the world is nothing. The two parties fighting near the gorge ahead were not mountain bandits cutting off the path, nor were they martial artists fighting. They were a group of monsters. On one side were 3 huge wolves that were about 10 feet tall, while on the other side were a dozen lobsters. Shrimp, you've crossed the line. This was the Black Wolf King's territory. Scram! The 3 giant wolves roared angrily, waving their sharp claws and baring their fangs, fighting with a group of lobsters that were waving their pincers. This world has become so chaotic? How are humans going to survive if demons run amok in broad daylight? Ning stared at the scene in front of him. His jaw dropped, and he couldn't close it for quite some time. That can't be right? If monsters are so rampant, then, how was Ning Kaichen able to survive for so long? And that peddler in the pavilion, how is he able to travel everywhere to sell his wares? Ning turned his head to look at Xiahou swordsman. Hero, has the world become so chaotic? Of course not. Xiahou swordsman seemed to have calmed himself down. In front of Ning, he regained his confidence as the #1 sword in the world, and he proudly raised his head. This is a battle between the wolf army under the command of the mountain god and the shrimp army under the command of the water god. Normally, they don't care about mortals. However, if we are drawn into a battle between divine soldiers, we might be accidentally injured. Mountain god? Water god? Divine soldiers? Ning suddenly felt that surviving in this world was simply too difficult. I have to recover my strength. Otherwise, before I even wake up from my dream, I might be crushed to death by that monster. What would happen if he died in his dream? Ning didn't want to personally test it out for himself. How can I recover my strength? Ning had no idea at all. Bastard! You shrimps dare to be so arrogant? A furious roar could be heard from the horizon up ahead. A black wind howled, and a dire monster with the head of a wolf and the body of a human charged towards them. Die! The dire wolf, riding the wind, wielded an enormous war hammer in his hands and smashed viciously towards the shrimp soldiers. Rumble, mountains crumbled and the earth cracked. Shattered rocks flew everywhere, and the powerful shock waves caused the entire world to shake. This heaven-shaking blow caused the shrimp soldiers to be smashed into pieces of flesh and blood, sending them flying everywhere. Unfortunately for them, half-a-meter-long shrimp body flew out, smashing towards Ning and the Xiahou swordsman's hiding place. Damn! Seeing this, Ning and the Xiahou swordsman's faces instantly turned ashen. They felt as if their souls had left their bodies, and they hurriedly covered their heads and fled. Rumble, the half-lobster body smashed through trees, smashing through rocks, smashing through everything in its path. It brushed past the heads of the two, howling through the air before smashing heavily against a cliff, causing dust to fly everywhere. Phew, having dodged that attack, Ning sat down on the ground, panting heavily. No wonder the number one sword in the world had been so terrified that he didn't dare to show himself. That direwolf, riding the wind, was already at the Xiantian level. In front of such a monster, the number one sword in the world would probably be able to kill it with a flick of his finger, right? Xiantian level? Ning was suddenly startled. The power system of these monsters, why is it that it is the same as the monsters of the Grand Xia dynasty? After thinking for a moment, Ning realized that since Earth was part of the three realms, it wasn't strange that the monsters here were the same as the monsters of the Grand Xia. I finally avoided disaster. By now, the wolf army and the shrimp soldiers had finished their battle. The lobsters had been wiped out, and the wolf army had returned victorious. The Xiahou swordsman once more regained his confidence and composure as the number one sword in the world. Holding the longsword by his waist, he walked out of the mountain forest with his head held high and his chest puffed out. It was as though the person hiding behind the boulder, trembling, wasn't him at all. The Xiahou swordsman left, but Ning didn't. According to the teachings of the Grand Xia dynasty, the flesh and blood of monstrous beasts can nourish one's blood and strengthen one's body. Ning looked at the 3-meter-long lobster behind him, and a hint of a smile appeared on his face. The most important thing for me right now is to increase my power. He walked to the bottom of the cliff. Seeing that enormous lobster, Ning gritted his teeth. I heard that lobsters can be eaten raw? From the shattered shell of the lobster, he pulled out a piece of lobster meat that was as white as jade. Ning opened his mouth and bit down viciously. The taste isn't bad? After swallowing the lobster meat, Ning discovered that it didn't have any effect at all. Wasn't it supposed to nourish one's blood and blood? Why wasn't it useful at all? In my current state, I don't even have the strength to truss a chicken. How am I supposed to survive in this terrifying world? Chapter 1150. I definitely have to go to Lanrua Temple. Ning tossed the lobster aside, then turned to look towards the north of Jinhua. But, given my current power, even making it to Lanrua Temple is a problem. Swish, right at this moment, a sword light howled through the skies, and the shrill howl of the sword shook the world. That's sword evasion? Seeing the sword light howl through the skies, Ning's heart trembled. This world has monsters, but naturally it has cultivators as well. Even if I lose my power, it's not impossible for me to regain it in this world. Thinking to this point, Ning's heart began to burn, and he hurriedly emerged from the mountain forest. It's actually coming this way? Just as he was about to call out to the sword light, Ning suddenly discovered that the sword light was actually flying towards him at high speed. Swish! The sword light flashed, and a woman dressed in a long red dress, with incomparably beautiful looks and an otherworldly aura, instantly landed in front of Ning. Yue? Senior apprentice sister Yu. That's great. I finally get to meet you. This woman riding a flying sword was Ning's senior apprentice sister of the Black-White College, Yue. Compared to that outsider, Buyu, Yue was a true friend of his, and their relationship was even closer. Seeing Yue, it was as though Ning had found his organization. Senior apprentice sister Yu truly lived up to her reputation as a reincarnated immortal. Even in this world where she dreamt of her past life, she still possessed such extraordinary power. Now, he would be much safer. He wouldn't have to worry about being crushed to death by any monsters passing by. Senior apprentice sister, you came? Wonderful. Ning's face was filled with joy as he welcomed her, laughing as he greeted Yue. You've got the wrong person. Yue glanced sideways at Ning, then shook her head. My surname isn't Yu, and I'm not your senior apprentice sister. Ning was startled. Like Bu Yu, senior apprentice sister, Yue didn't remember the events of the future? Could it be that he was the only one with memories of the future? Dare I ask for your name, fairy? Since Yue didn't remember the future, then he had to figure out her identity in this world. I am a cheery finer of Mount Kunlun. My Taoist title is Crimson, and people call me Fairy Crimson. Yue glanced at Ning, then gave him her name. Fairy Crimson? Scarlet Glow. Scarlet Glow? At first, Ning didn't pay it much mind. After repeating the name, Crimson Afterglow, to himself twice, his entire body suddenly trembled and his face turned blank. Scarlet Afterglow? Yan Qixia? It can't be? Ning raised his head to look at Yue, his heart filled with waves of shock. Isn't Yan Qixia a bearded, muscular man? Why are you so feminine? Big Boss Li clapped his hands and laughed. What was a sissy Yan Qixia? Young man, there are even more frightening things waiting for you. You know me? My secular family's surname is indeed Yan, but I have always used the name Scarlet Afterglow. But no one has ever called him Yan Qixia. Fairy Crimson Dawn gave Ning a surprised glance. She was beginning to feel curious about this ordinary scholar. For many years, Fairy Qixia had been cultivating in Kunlun Mountain and had never stepped out of the mountain gate. This time, when she left the mountain to travel the world, other than her fellow cultivators, there was no one who knew her. However, why did this scholar seem to be very familiar with her? Furthermore, he was able to call out her secular family name, as if he was very familiar with her name. Senior apprentice sister? As soon as we meet, he addresses me as senior apprentice sister? Can it be that he is my junior apprentice brother from before I reincarnated? But, since he has awakened the memories of his past life, why doesn't he have any cultivation? Fairy Crimson Dawn was puzzled. Scholar, you are. Fairy Crimson Dawn opened her mouth to ask for Ning's name, to see if she could recall some memories. I am now called Ning Kaichin. In the past, or in the future. My name is Ji Ning. Senior apprentice sister, do you still remember me? Do you still remember the Black-White College? Ning hurriedly reported his background, attempting to awaken her memories. Ning Kaichin? Ji Ning? Black-White College? Yue frowned tightly. After a while, she shook her head. I have never heard of your name, nor do I know of any Black-White College. Have you forgotten? Can it be that aside from me, everyone else has lost their memories? Ning let out a helpless, bitter laugh. Perhaps, if I awaken their lost memories, I will be able to awaken from this dreamland? But I clearly have my memories. Why can't I awaken? Where is the key to leaving this dreamland? Orchid Temple? Ning suddenly thought of this critical location. Since it originated from Orchid Temple, then perhaps the answer to everything lay within Orchid Temple. Senior apprentice sister, let me tell you a bit about the Black-White College. If he wanted to find the answer at Orchid Temple, he naturally had to have Yan Qixia, a key figure. Ning naturally wanted to have this Fairy Crimson Dawn in front of him accompany him. And so, Ning began to tell Yue everything that had happened in the Black-White College. Fairy Crimson Flame? My title in the Black-White College was Fairy Crimson Flame? That is rather similar to my current title. Fairy Crimson Dawn laughed and nodded. Scholar, perhaps what you say is true. However, the past has all become like the clouds. We cultivators don't care about the past. We only care about this life, free and unfettered. What if it isn't the past, but the next life? Ning raised his head to look at Yue, a solemn look on his face. Next life? Yue was startled. She turned to stare at Ning, then shook her head. Reversing time and returning to your previous life? You don't have that ability. We went to explore the estate of a celestial immortal, but were attacked. Our flying boat crashed, and then everyone dreamt of our previous lives. Senior apprentice sister, don't you want to understand all of this? Don't you want to know the answer? Ning raised his head to look at Yue. Senior apprentice sister, perhaps? This is all just a dream. Our true bodies are still in danger. If we don't wake up from this dream soon, perhaps we will never wake up again. What do you suggest? Yue was somewhat suspicious of Ning's words, but what if they were true? Orchid Temple. Everything originated from Orchid Temple. Perhaps the answer is there. As Ning saw it, all of this definitely had something to do with Orchid Temple. Orchid Temple? What a coincidence. I was just about to go to Orchid Temple. Yue raised her head to look at Ning, then frowned. Orchid Temple is occupied by dire monsters. You have no cultivation at all. If you go, I'm afraid, Senior apprentice sister, I have to go. Only if I go to Orchid Temple will I be able to uncover the truth. Without Ning Kaichen at Orchid Temple, the story wouldn't be able to unfold. What answer would there be? Fine. Since you don't fear death, then I'll take you to Orchid Temple. With a wave of her hand, a scarlet light swirled out, and a streak of sword light soared into the skies. Fairy Crimson Dawn. Yue led Ning through the skies, hurrying towards Orchid Temple. A short while later, on the mountain ridge in front of them, an enormous tree stood tall, its enormous crown covering an area of more than 10 kilometers. Outside the crown of the tree, there was a ruined temple. This was Orchid Temple. Chapter 1151. This is the Lanrua Temple? The scene in front of him caused Ning's heart to clench. Especially that giant tree. To Ning, who was familiar with the plot, he couldn't help but shudder. A streak of light descended. Ning and Fairy Crimson Dawn landed in the Lanrua Temple. The tree Demonis has actually grown to this level? After landing in the Lanrua Temple, Fairy Crimson Dawn raised her head to look at the giant tree in front of her. She furrowed her brows tightly. People's hearts are like ghosts. This method of using one's heart to lure her in and absorb her blood and yang energy actually allowed her to reach this level? Senior apprentice sister, right now, the sun is high in the sky and the yang energy is abundant. This is the time when the tree Demonis is at her weakest. Why don't we take this opportunity to get rid of this tree Demonis? From what Ning understood of the plot, the tree Demonis was at her most rampant at night. Right now, taking this opportunity to get rid of the tree Demonis would save them a lot of trouble. Who said that tree Demonesses are at their weakest under the sun? Fairy Crimson Dawn turned her head in surprise. Tree Demonesses are still trees at their core. Sunlight, rain, and dew, aren't those what trees need? Who said that tree Demonesses are weak during the day? Ning was startled. Wasn't that what happened in a Chinese ghost story? Could it be that tree Demonesses also had the ability to photosynthesize? She wouldn't be weak under the sun? Tree Demonesses aren't ghosts. Naturally, they wouldn't be afraid of sunlight. However, the ghosts under her control indeed wouldn't dare to appear during the day. Fairy Crimson Dawn nodded. From this perspective, it isn't unreasonable for her to be at her weakest right now. With a wave of her hand, a sword light whizzed out. The surging flames were like a red cloud. Crimson Flame Heaven Burning Sword. Fairy Crimson Dawn soared into the sky. With a wave of her hand, she unleashed a sword energy that burned the heavens. Rumble! Monstrous flames surged into the sky. The raging flames covered the sky and covered the entire area. The giant tree in front of them was enveloped in the blazing flames. Cultivator? The attack of the raging flames caused the slumbering tree Demonis to suddenly wake up. A mighty dark green light flashed from the giant tree, blocking the raging flames. Cultivator, I have no enmity with you. Why are you attacking me? The dark green light flashed, and an enormous aura covered the entire area. Within the dark green radiance, a figure that was neither male nor female appeared. Upon seeing the figure within the light, Ning was so shocked that his entire body began to tremble. The figure standing tall amidst the dark green radiance was actually young Flame Gnome. Granny was him? Young Flame Gnome was actually Granny Tree Demon? He had actually turned into that androgynous fellow. Everyone has the right to punish evil and unorthodox cultivators. Since she had already made her move, how could Yue hesitate? She formed a sword seal with her hand, and a blazing sword light soared into the sky. Blazing red lotus. The sword light spiraled up and turned into a huge flaming lotus. Then, it fiercely collided with the tree demon. Preposterous! Granny Tree Demon Young Flame Gnome roared angrily. Do you think Granny is easy to bully? Cover the sky. A dark green radiance soared into the sky, and the mighty radiance was earth-shattering. Violent winds howled, and a vast dark green radiance covered the entire sky like rolling dark clouds. The world was dark, without the slightest bit of light, as if night had fallen. Evil winds howled, and ghosts wailed and wolves howled. In the area around the giant tree, countless ghosts and ghosts swept towards it like a tidal wave. The sudden cold caused Ning's entire body to tremble. Ghosts have appeared? Then where is little Qian? Seeing this Nightwalker of 100 ghosts situation, Ning was shocked. He hurriedly opened his eyes wide, searching everywhere for little Qian. However, even after looking for a long time, Ning was unable to tell which of these vile souls and ghosts was little Qian. Can it be that I'm using the wrong method? Instead of waiting for nightfall, little Qian appeared and attacked during the day. Ning felt a wave of worry in his heart. If little Qian was amongst these vile souls and ghosts, raging flames incinerate the heavens. Monstrous flames swept out, engulfing all of the ferocious souls and malicious ghosts that were whizzing over and burning them to ashes in an instant. I hope little Qian isn't amongst these ghosts. Seeing Yue and Granny Tree Demon battle, Ning's face was filled with helplessness. There was nothing he could do. Little Qian, where are you? Ning felt that these clearly cannon fodder vile souls and ghosts shouldn't be on the same level as little Qian. Since he couldn't interfere in the battle between Yue and Granny Tree Demon, Ning turned and walked out of the temple hall, then began to search through the wild mountains. Walking out of the temple hall, Ning stepped into the pitch-black darkness. Ding-dong! A melodious zither sound rang out from afar, like a stream of water, like jade beads falling onto a plate. Upon hearing this zither sound, Ning's heart trembled. Little Qian? His feet didn't stop moving. Ning ran towards the zither sound at high speed. Moments later, a small lake appeared in front of Ning. Even though it was dark all around, the waterside pavilion by the small lake emitted a radiance that resembled moonlight. A beautiful woman dressed in a long white dress was playing a zither, playing a string of notes. Little Qian, upon seeing this woman, Ning hurriedly called out loudly, "Eh!" Upon hearing this call, the zither-playing woman's entire body trembled, and she hurriedly turned her head. Upon seeing this woman's appearance, Ning was so shocked that his entire body was covered with cold sweat. He almost vomited. This so-called little Qian was actually a man. This was Xuehongyi. This was the cultivator who had accompanied young Flame Gnome to the Witch River Immortal Estate, Xuehongyi. Bastard! Why the hell are you pretending to be Qian? Upon seeing Xuehongyi dressed as a woman, Ning's entire body trembled. He couldn't help but let his thoughts wander. Granny was young Flame Gnome, and Xuehongyi was dressed as a woman. He couldn't think about it. It was too disgusting. Young master, why are you looking for little Qian? Compared to little Qian, your humble servant knows how to be considerate. Red lips on a flute, white hands caressing a dragon, fragrant rear court flowers. Xuehongyi put down his zither, then walked over with graceful steps. Her waist twisted so much, Ning was worried that it might break. Ugh! Upon hearing the words rear court flowers, Ning's entire body trembled. He bent over and began to retch. Stop! Don't come over! Don't come over! Young master, why must you keep people 1,000 kilometers away? It is fate that brought us together. Fate my ass! Ning cursed angrily, then turned and ran. If he didn't run, the consequences would be unimaginable. You want to run? No one has ever been able to escape from me, Little Red. Little Red let out a cold snort. His body howled through the air, flying straight towards Ning. Finished. Finished. I'm doomed. Without any strength, and with Little Red, this terrifying fellow, catching up to him, Ning felt a chill in his heart. He felt as though his rear court was rather cold. Little Red, you've crossed the line. Right at this moment, a robe fluttered, and an incomparably beautiful woman floated down, blocking in front of Ning. She waved her hand, and a ray of moon-white light howled out. Little Qian, you, humph! Little Red's heart trembled. He hurriedly dodged this attack, then stomped his feet heavily, then turned and left. Young master, I am Little Qian. The incomparably beautiful woman slowly turned, revealing her beautiful, lotus-like face to Ning. Her eyes were as clear as water. A single glance was eternal. Seeing this familiar yet unfamiliar face, Ning's heart trembled. In this moment I saw you. From now on my life will no longer be lonely. In this moment I saw you. From now on your face will be branded into my heart. No matter how much time passes, we will be together in life and death. If you live, I live. If you die, I die. Just because you looked at me. Love is that simple. Chapter 1152. It's supposed to be a thriller, but you actually turned it into a romantic drama? The great director Boss Lee was very dissatisfied with the performance of the male and female lead. Then don't blame me for tormenting you. With a flick of his finger, the world quietly changed. Rumble! In the sky above Lanroa Temple, the battle between Fairy Chixia and Granny Tree Demon became even more intense. Wood can make fire. Although Granny Tree Demon's cultivation level was high, her wood-type demonic energy was restrained by Fairy Chixia's fiery sword energy. After a fierce battle, she gradually became tired. Scoundrel, I'm being bullied. Why aren't you coming over to help? Granny Tree Demon, who was neither male nor female, released a dark green screen of light, blocking the incoming fiery lotus. However, her branches and leaves were still burned by the blazing flames. Since she couldn't beat Fairy Chixia, Granny Tree Demon could only call for help. Tree Demon called for help? Could it be old fiend Black Mountain? Ji Ning, who was chatting with Xiao Qian, suddenly heard Granny Tree Demon's loud roar. He was shocked. Old fiend Black Mountain is Qi Heng. But Qi Heng, who has lost his memories, doesn't recognize me at all. With Qi Heng's strength, this old fiend Black Mountain must be very terrifying. Thinking of Qi Heng's fame of killing a loose immortal, Ji Ning's heart trembled. Even if I recover my strength, I don't want to fight against Brother Qi. That's too dangerous. Thinking of this, Ji Ning turned his head to look at Xiao Qian. Xiao Qian, in a while, leave this place with me and escape from the control of the Tree Demon. Kai-chan, I am. Xiao Qian lowered her head with a sad face. It's just a ghost. I know. It's fine. Ji Ning waved his hand indifferently. Let's go. Hurry up and leave with me. Without any explanation, Ji Ning grabbed Xiao Qian, turned around and ran towards the exit of Lanroa Temple. While running, he raised his head and shouted towards Yu Wei, who was fighting in midair. Senior apprentice sister, a powerful enemy is coming. We can't fight against him. Let's run. Run? None of you can run. Granny Tree Demon roared. She stretched out her hand and countless vines and roots rushed out from the ground, wrapping around Ji Ning. Young master, be careful. As the roots approached, Xiao Qian waved her hand, and a ray of white light shot out. It was like a crescent moon blade that whistled through the air, slicing apart the root. Xiao Qian? And a handsome young man? Her roots had been severed. Granny Tree Demon was both shocked and enraged. She turned her head to look, and when she saw Ning, that handsome, elegant youth, her eyes instantly lit up. Xiao Qian, you slut, how dare you snatch the handsome young man from your grandmother? You're courting death. Upon seeing Ning, and then seeing Xiao Qian by his side, Granny Tree Demoness flew into a rage. The inky green light which had been suppressed by the Inferno Lotus suddenly exploded with power, and her aura actually increased dramatically. Xiao Hong, stop Xiao Qian for me. Go quickly. Wait until that bastard arrives, none of them will be able to escape. Granny Tree Demon roared as she blocked Yue Wei's attack. F***CK. Young Flame Nong likes pretty boys? Upon seeing young Flame Nong transform into Granny Dryad, Ning couldn't help but shudder. He hurriedly grabbed Xiao Qian, turned, and ran. Young master, why are you in such a hurry? Her clothes fluttered in the wind, and her fragrance wafted over. Xiao Hong coquettishly appeared in front of Ning. Her coquettish appearance was simply unbearable to look at. Granny told me to stop you, but actually, I didn't want to stop you at all. Xiao Hong looked towards Ning, her face filled with hidden bitterness. Young master, from the very first moment I saw you, I only had you in my heart. I no longer have Granny. Young master, take me with you. Xiao Hong is willing to make your bed for you. F***CK off. Ning's entire body shuddered, and he almost blurted out the words "wheat bastard." Young master, why are you so heartless? Tears glistened in Xiao Hong's eyes. She was heartbroken. Didn't you hear what the young master said? F***CK off. Otherwise, a ray of white light exploded from Xiao Qian's hand, and the cold light carried a desolate aura. My heart shines like the moon, but the moon shines like a ditch. Xiao Hong let out a long sigh, and then her eyes were filled with venom. Since that's the case, then don't blame me for being vicious. If I can't have it, then no one else can. Clang! Clang! The sound of strings rang out, and one sharp zither string after another shot out, chopping down towards Ning's head like streaks of sword light. Young master, be careful! Xiao Qian cried out in alarm, and a ray of white light exploded from her fingertips, rippling out like a wave of light. An icy cold aura froze the 7 zither strings Xiao Hong had chopped out in midair. Zither strings are threads of love. How can it be frozen when there are so many feelings? Xiao Hong looked at Ning with hidden bitterness. She waved her hand, as though plucking the strings of a zither. Clang clang! The sound of a zither rang out, as though tugging at one's heartstrings. Ugh! Ning felt an intense pain in his heart, as though his heart was about to shatter. Ning staggered, and a mouthful of blood sprayed out from his mouth. Slut! You dare to harm the young master? Xiao Qian was both shocked and enraged. She waved her hand, sending a ray of moonlight chopping down towards Xiao Hong's head. Xiao Qian, if you dare to attack, the young master is dead for sure. Xiao Hong completely ignored Xiao Qian's ray of moonlight. Her slender, jade-like fingers pressed against the zither strings, and a hint of gentleness appeared on her face. Young master, when I first saw you, my zither strings were already tied to your heart. 7 strings of love? You actually used such a vicious curse on the young master? Xiao Hong, you deserve to die. Xiao Qian was so angry that her willowy eyebrows were furrowed. She ground her jade-like teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. What the hell is going on? Ning stretched his hand out, wiping away the blood at the corner of his mouth. His heart was completely blank. What sort of godly development was this? It was one thing for Yan Qixia to be a woman, and it was one thing for Granny to be fond of handsome young men, but Xiao Hong, this fellow who was neither male nor female, actually, could it be that he was so handsome that he could shake the heavens and move the earth? No matter if they were male or female, human or monster, none of them would be able to block his elegance. This sort of thing, he'd rather not have it. Youngster, isn't it very shocking? Isn't it very interesting? Big Boss Lee let out a strange, gloating laugh. 7 zither strings, that means 7 seals. Youngster, you've already found the person who gave you 7 seals. Joker, oh, he's making a cameo. Forget it, you can go play by yourself. The heartless Boss Lee no longer paid any attention to Ning's helplessness. However, Ning himself had no choice but to deal with it. 7 strings of love. 7 zither strings, 7 seals, all engraved in your heart. Young master, I've already left my seal in your heart. For all eternity you will be mine. Xiao Hong smiled sweetly, her seductive manner overflowing. Ning felt goosebumps all over his body. From today onwards there will only be me in your heart. No Xiaoqian, no one else. In your heart, there will only be me. I am the only one for you. I am the true meaning of your life. I am the ruler of your heart. Xiao Hong laughed loudly, devilishly and terrifyingly. Xiao Hong, you deserve to die. Xiao Qian's heart was filled with rage. She ground her jade teeth so hard that they creaked. Her heart was filled with grief. This divine ability, which originated from Granny, was completely unbreakable. Young master, you are the ruler of my heart? Ning took a deep breath and clenched his fists tightly. My heart is upright, my heart is unfettered. No one can control my heart. No one can dominate my heart. I am the ruler of my heart. Rumble. It was as if a clap of thunder had exploded. It was as if a shackle had been broken. It was as if he had broken free from his shackles. That strong will, that unfettered will, exploded within Ning's heart. The 7 strings of love, imprinted in his heart, instantly collapsed. Power, the power that belonged to Ning, once again returned to his body. Go to hell. Sword of Annihilation. The 5-colored string soared into the sky. Ning waved his hand and chopped out with his sword. Xiao Hong, this disgusting human and monster, instantly vanished into thin air. She was completely and utterly dead. Rumble! At this moment, the void suddenly exploded. The sky was filled with bloody light that covered the heavens and the earth. A monstrous, baleful aura filled the air. It was as if hell had descended. Bastard, someone bullied me. Kill them for me. Don't let any of them off. Granny Tree Demon shouted loudly. Chapter 1153. Old Monster Blackmount has come? Seeing this strange phenomenon, Ning's heart shook. He hurriedly turned his head towards Xiao Qian and instructed her, Springgrass, wait here. Don't run around. Granny Tree Demoness and Young Flame Gnome were already very powerful. Fairy Crimson Dawn and Yu Wei were only able to suppress them. If another Old Monster Blackmount came, even Ning himself would find it hard to deal with them. At this moment, Ning, who had just recovered his power, naturally couldn't just watch as Yu Wei was surrounded and attacked by Granny Tree Demoness and Old Monster Blackmount. Young master, you aren't a scholar? You are this powerful? And who is Springgrass? Xiaoqian's head was filled with bewilderment. Even now, she still hadn't come to her senses. I'll tell you later. The situation was dire. Ning didn't have time to say too much to Xiaoqian. Grabbing Xiaoqian, he soared into the air, joining up with Yu Wei. Senior apprentice sister, Old Monster Blackmount has come. We can't fight him head-on. Let's leave, quick! Leaping forward, Ning flew to Yu Wei's side. With a wave of his hand, he retrieved his Dark North swords, chopping apart the surrounding vines and roots as he shouted towards Yu Wei. Your power! Seeing Ning display such mighty power, Fairy Crimson Dawn was startled. Could it be that this person really was her junior apprentice brother? Let's go. That so-called Old Monster Blackmount hadn't even truly arrived. Just the aura he emanated was enough to cause one's heart to tremble. Yu Wei immediately made up her mind. Riding a streak of light, she turned and fled. Ning, Xiaoqian, and Yu Wei all rode a streak of light towards the outside of the curtain of darkness. Run? None of you will be able to run. An enormous roar suddenly rang out from the skies. Rumble! An enormous sound rang out, as though the heavens themselves had collapsed. An enormous spatial rift appeared in the skies, and an incomparably enormous figure emerged from the rift. This is, seeing the enormous figure emerge from the rift, Ning's entire body trembled, and he stared slack-jawed. This is Shangli Yufang? Isn't that old monster Blackmount? Why has it become Shangli Yufang? The figure that emerged from the void wasn't old monster Blackmount, Qiheng, as Ning had expected. Instead, it was a massive, 9-headed serpent that was 30,000 meters long. 9 enormous heads. Sneaky man, hurry up and attack. Kill them all. Kill them all. Granny Tree Demoness Young Flame Nong looked like a little wife who had been bullied. When she saw the look on her man's face, all of the grievances in her belly instantly exploded. She actually began to cry. Good girl. Don't cry. Your man is back. No one can bully you. Shangli Yufang transformed into a tall, muscular, dark-skinned man. He landed by Young Flame Nong's side, reaching out to embrace him, or rather her, and gently consoling him. It's too scary. My eyes. I'm going blind. I'm going blind. Ning felt his stomach churn, and he almost vomited. Young Flame Nong, Shui Hongyi, Shangli Yufang, what exactly was the story between these 3 men? Don't think about it. It was too disgusting. Absolutely not. It's you? Did you offend this god's wife? After comforting Young Flame Nong, Shangli Yufang raised his head to stare at the 3 of them flying in front of him. A cold light flashed through his eyes. I am in charge of the 3 rivers and 2 rivers. I am the ruler of the 5 lakes and 4 seas. I have countless soldiers under my command. You actually dared to offend my wife. Shangli Yufang gestured with his hand, and a large black flag appeared with a rumbling boom. Vast amounts of water vapor covered the heavens and the earth. Seize them! The giant flag waved, and the world shook. Yes! Streams of water vapor exploded out from the surrounding area, surging into the heavens like enormous waves. Above the rolling watery light, countless water-kind spirit creatures lined up in battle formations, approaching from all directions. Shrimp soldiers, crab generals, fish monsters, crocodiles, countless aquatic monsters came in an awe-inspiring manner, their monstrous auras filling the skies. Seeing this formation, Ning was greatly shocked. Shangli Yufang, how could he have such an enormous force? Previously, he had heard Xiaoho say that this world had a mountain god division and a water god division. Shangli Yufang called himself the water god, so he was the water god of this world? Where had he found so many monsters? Water god Shangli? The dryad is actually his wife? This is going to be troublesome. Fairy Crimson Dawn seemed to know this water god quite well. Upon seeing this formation, her face turned slightly ashen. Young master, I don't know the relationship between Granny and the water god either. Xiaoqian's entire body was trembling. The only thing we can do right now is fight to the death. Ning raised his longsword, his eyes cold. If we fight, we'll have a chance to live. If we don't, we'll die. All right. Fairy Crimson Dawn raised her scarlet longsword, and her entire body was covered with roiling flames. Today you and I will fight side by side. Let's kill to our heart's content. Xiaoqian swears to die by your side. Her hands flashed with icy moonlight, and Xiaoqian stood by Ning's side, a look of absolute resolve on her face. If you live, I live. If you die, I die. Then, let's kill. Vast amounts of qi began to roil within his body. Ning leapt into the air, his entire body exploding with boundless light. Heavenly transformation, 3 heads, 6 arms. Light exploded, and Ning transformed into a 300-meter-tall giant. His 6 arms grabbed the dark north swords that were dozens of meters long, and with a wild howl, he charged towards the monster army in front of him. Offending Big Sister is an unforgivable crime. Within the vast expanse of water vapor in front of him, a figure suddenly appeared. A lotus-like halo of light appeared, chopping down towards Ning's head. 9 Lotus. Seeing this figure, Ning's entire body trembled. Offending Big Sister? Granny Tree Demoness Young Flame Nong was Nina Lotus's big sister? Then, she was the concubine of the water god, Shangliufang? Ning's gaze was extremely complicated. He suddenly had the feeling that the truth was simply too cruel. He simply couldn't face it. What are you daydreaming about? A furious roar rang out from behind him, and a blazing lotus of fire shot out. Rumble! The 2 lotuses collided violently, and an enormous shockwave exploded forth. Little Nine, my little sweetheart, why did you personally attack? At this moment, Granny Tree Demoness Young Flame Nong called out in surprise in a sweet voice, Little Nine, we women don't need to do things like fighting and killing. Come, let Big Sister give you some good love. Their relationship, how complicated is it, exactly? Hearing the flirtatious tone of Granny Tree Demoness, Ning, his entire body trembled. Don't think about it. Don't think about it. Too dirty. Kill, kill, kill. After being blocked for a moment by 9 Lotus, in but an instant, the surrounding monster army began to charge forward. The vast expanse of water vapor joined together, forming an enormous battle formation. Damn! Thousands upon thousands of aquatic monsters formed into a formation, their power fused into one, and their power was absolutely terrifying. This surge of power caused Ning to feel as though a mountain was pressing down from above his head. Every single movement became extremely difficult. Grand sea subduing formation, overturn rivers and seas. After the formation was completed, 9 Lotus blocked Yue Wei's sword, then leapt into the midst of the army. With a wave of her hand, a large flag suddenly appeared in her hand. Rumble! It was as though the Milky Way had been turned upside down, as though the dikes of the 4 seas had been breached. The raging waves of fury covered the heavens and covered the earth, wildly sweeping forward and crushing everything in their path. Damn! In the face of this power, even Ning, who trained in the Fiend God body refining technique, wasn't able to withstand the crushing power of the raging waves, much less Yue Wei and Xiao Qian, 2 weak women. Chapter 1154. I can't retreat. I can't run either. Staring at the raging waves crashing towards him, Ning tightly gripped his sword hilt, straightened his chest, and stood in front of Yue Wei and Xiao Qian. If Ning was by himself, he could have used the Annihilation Sword to chop apart the formation and escape. However, Yue Wei and Xiao Qian were by his side. Once Ning broke out of the formation, the 2 of them would definitely be attacked by the formation. A man had to be responsible. At a time like this, the only thing he could do was endure. 5 elements, Annihilation Lotus Throne. Ning let out a loud roar, and his entire body exploded with dazzling light. Water gave birth to wood. Wood gave birth to fire. Fire gave birth to earth. Earth gave birth to metal. The 5 elements rotated, transforming into an enormous 5 elements lotus throne. The enormous lotus throne surrounded Ning and the other 2. The 5 colored petals swiveled non-stop, intersecting with each other. A 5-colored aura of annihilation began to swirl around the lotus throne. Annihilation! 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 The watery light that filled the skies swept towards them, but the 5 elements lotus throne was like an anchor, standing tall and unmoving amidst the raging waves. It stood tall and unshakable. No matter how fierce the waves were, no matter how vast the watery mist was, the 5 elements lotus throne exploded with boundless light, constantly annihilating the watery light that swept towards it. It seemed as though it would never dissipate. Damn! I'm using up too much energy. Using the Annihilation Sword to activate the 5 elements Lotus Throne, Ning felt as though the ki in his body was like a river that had burst its banks, constantly pouring out. If this continued, even if he had pills and liquefied elemental essence on him, he wouldn't be able to last much longer. Once he used up all his pills, the only thing that awaited him would be death. As he furiously swallowed the liquefied elemental essence, Ning's forehead was covered with cold sweat. He was extremely frantic. Damn! I have to think of a way to break out. This Annihilation Lotus Throne should be able to move. A thought flashed through Ning's mind, and he began to slowly drive the Annihilation Lotus Throne forward. This drive used up even more spiritual energy. Scholar, let me help you. Yue stepped forward, pressing her palm against Ning's back as she poured her elemental ki into him. Young master, Xiaoqian's eyes flashed with tears, and she quietly lowered her head. I am a ghost. The yin energy in my body not only won't be able to help you, but will also harm you. I'm just a burden. The lotus platform of annihilation slowly moved forward. The Annihilation Tianshui Qi of Annihilation was like a boat breaking through the waves, advancing continuously in the raging tide. However, even if the two of them worked together, even if they continuously swallowed liquefied origin essence, the enormous consumption caused their vital energy to be unable to make ends meet. They simply couldn't hold on for much longer. Young master, if there's one less person, you should be able to escape. Xiaoqian raised her head, staring lovingly at Ning. Young master, if there is a next life, you have to come find Xiaoqian. A hint of a smile appeared on Xiaoqian's face. She reluctantly turned her head to look at Ning, then stepped off the lotus dais. No! Ning, who was controlling the Annihilation Lotus Throne, suddenly realized that something was off. He hurriedly turned his head, only to see Xiaoqian walk out of the Lotus Throne. His eyes were filled with deep affection, with longing, with reluctance, and with absolute determination. You live, I live. If you die, I die. By now, there was no longer any time to persuade him. Ning's face was filled with determination as he spoke. Young master, Xiaoqian's entire body trembled. She turned her tear-stained head back, a smile blossoming on her face. Good. For Xiaoqian to be able to share life and death with you, young master, is more than enough. You aren't the only one who can die. Fairy Crimson Dawn looked at the two of them, a complicated look in her eyes. Junior apprentice brother, I trust that in the future, you will definitely be my junior apprentice brother. Today, we will live and die together. With two beauties by my side, I can die without regrets. Ning laughed loudly, summoning all of his spiritual energy and pouring it into the Annihilation Lotus Throne. The dazzling, 5-colored Lotus Throne soared into the air like a flying boat, breaking through the wind and the waves. The Lotus Throne flew forward, like a boat breaking through the waves. However, this was the final splendor of a shooting star. This was Ning's final gamble. 30,000 meters, 3,000 meters, 300 meters. The 5-colored Lotus Throne drew closer and closer to the edge of the formation. A few dozen meters away, they could already see the aquatic monsters in the formation. As long as they could break through the formation, they would be able to escape. However, when they were only 30 meters away from the monsters, the Lotus Throne came to a halt. My path, has it come to an end? Looking at the 5-colored Lotus Throne that was gradually dimming, Ning let out a long sigh in his heart. Turning his head to look at Yue and Xiaoqian, Ning smiled, stretched out his hands, and took the two into his arms. At this moment, neither Yue nor Xiaoqian struggled, nor were they bashful. Openly and naturally, they gently leaned against Ning's side. Live and die together. This was the three's common wish. Would they die? As the director, Big Bossly, said, "Young man, the climax of the story is about to come. Shangliu, who gave you the courage to set up the ocean-subduing formation on the continent." Suddenly, an angry roar shook the world. You asked me, the old monster of the Black Mountain? The mighty voice dispersed the dark clouds, dispersed the wild wind, and an enormous, pitch-black mountain appeared in midair. At the peak of this mountain, a handsome, dignified youth dressed in a dark golden robe stood there proudly. The thick and heavy aura was like the entire earth. F***ck off. The enormous black mountain smashed viciously against the ocean-subduing formation, which was filled with water vapor. Rumble. With a heaven-shaking explosion, the ocean-subduing formation, which was filled with water vapor, was smashed apart by the enormous black mountain. The countless aquatic monsters who had set up the formation wildly vomited blood, howling miserably as they fell down from midair. Even more of the aquatic monsters were blasted into a bloody mist by this collision. Brother Chi, having been saved from death's door, Ning saw the figure standing there in midair, and he called out in surprise and joy. "Old monster of the Black Mountain, you dare to ruin my plans? How dare you?" Seeing the ocean-subduing formation, he had set up being destroyed by a single blow from the old monster of the Black Mountain, Shangli Fang was so enraged that he was stamping with rage. "You are a mountain god while I am a water god. Do you think I'm afraid of you?" With a furious roar, Shangli Fang waved his hand, picking up a three-pronged pitchfork, then charged furiously towards Ning. "You say you aren't afraid, but in truth you are." A hint of a cold smile appeared at the corner of old monster Black Mountain's mouth. He reached out with his hand, and the enormous Black Mountain rose into the air, transforming into a giant black seal. "In recent years I've been too lazy to pay attention to a clown like you. I didn't expect that you would be so arrogant as to think that you are on par with me." The black seal in old fiend Black Mountain's hand spun as he stared coldly at Shangli Fang, who was charging towards him. "You actually dare to set up a sea-suppressing grand formation on the continent? Who gave you the courage?" A cold light flashed through his eyes. Old monster Black Mountain waved his hand, and the giant black seal flew out of his hand, transforming into an enormous, pitch-black mountain. This mountain was the Black Mountain which Ning had seen when he had entered the Witch River Immortal Estate. Rumble! The heavens collapsed and the earth caved in. The heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. The enormous Black Mountain smashed down onto Shangli Fang's body, creating an enormous, heaven-shaking sound. Even though Shangli Fang had gone all out to block, even though he had transformed into a massive serpentine body, he was still smashed heavily into the ground by the enormous mountain. The earth trembled violently, and a stream of pitch-black watery light sprayed out from beneath the Black Mountain. It seemed as though that was Shangli Fang's blood. This blood. When Ning saw the blood flowing out from Shangli Fang's mouth, he suddenly had an extremely strange feeling. That wasn't blood. That was ink. Was this the truth? A blob of ink? This was too terrifying. Chapter 1155. Ink wasn't frightening. What was frightening was, why had ink appeared after Shangli Fang died? When he thought back to the Witch River Immortal Estate, the primal Shangli Fang had suddenly transformed into a 30,000-meter tall Earth Immortal Fiend God. Could it be that it was because of this ink? Then, where had the ink come from? Ning's heart was filled with questions. He couldn't understand what was going on with the ink. "Ah, you scoundrel, you died so tragically." Right at this moment, Granny Tree Demoness Young Flame Nong let out a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering howl. That desolate, sorrowful cry sounded as though her heart had been shattered, as though her heart had been shattered. However, in the next instant, Granny Tree Demoness' cries transformed into joyous laughter. "Good. Good. You died for the best. Now, I, your granny, am single again. I can find a handsome young man again." Granny Tree Demoness Young Flame Nong wiped away her tears, then smiled sweetly towards old monster Black Mountain. She bowed gracefully. "Lord Black Mountain, you are wise and mighty. I have admired you for a long time, and I wish I could offer myself to you. But now I am all alone, with no one to rely on. I hope, Lord Black Mountain, that you will take me in. I will definitely serve you with all my heart. Ning, seeing this, stared slack-jawed. What a marvel! What a shock! This young flame gnome was beyond saving, right? F***ck off, upon hearing young flame gnome say, "Offer myself to you," the cold-faced old monster Black Mountain's entire body trembled. His face turned somewhat ashen, and he even let out a dry retching sound. "Lord Black Mountain, I am infatuated with you. Infatuated my ass." Old monster Black Mountain let out a wild roar of shock and rage. He stretched out his hand, and the giant black seal which had killed Shangli Yufang suddenly flew out, smashing down towards young Flame Gnome's head. Rumble, yet another earth-shaking sound. The terrifying granny tree demoness young Flame Gnome was smashed into the ground, smashed into bits and pieces. Young Flame Gnome died just like that? Ning's heart trembled. The heir to the divine plume duke of the Grand Xia dynasty, the successor to the Young Flame clan, had been treated as a freak and smashed into bits and pieces? Well, he was a bastard anyway. So what if he's dead? Ning naturally didn't care if Young Flame Gnome died or not. All he cared about was, how was he supposed to leave this dreamland? Brother Qi. If they wanted to leave this dreamland, they needed to work together. Ning hurriedly called out to Qi-Heng. "I'm the Black Mountain Demon." The grim-faced old monster Black Mount gave Ning a cold glance, then waved his hand to summon the Black Seal back. "A ghost and 2 cultivators. Why don't you pay your respects to this god?" Brother Qi, you've also lost your memories." "Am I the only one who remembers what happened in the future?" Hearing Qi Heng's words, Ji Ning was startled and his face was filled with helplessness. Memory loss? Black Mountain's old fiend's eyes lit up. "Tell me. I'm very interested in your words." "Brother Qi, it's like this." Seeing that old fiend Black Mountain was interested in this memory loss, Ning hurriedly told Qi Heng everything that had happened. "I'm your friend? Let's explore the heavenly immortal's mansion together? This fairy Crimson Dawn is called Yu Wei. She's your senior apprentice sister? This ghost is called Vanilla. She's your maidservant?" Black Mountain Demon blinked. "Why do I feel like everyone is related to you? Who are you?" "I'm Ji Ning. Right now. I should be called Ning Kaichen." Ning shook his head helplessly. Although it was a bit strange, in reality, everyone here was indeed related to him. "Ning Kaichen?" A hint of surprise flashed through Black Mountain Demon's eyes. "You're Ning Kaichen? Then, this ghost is called Nye Xiaoqian? Fairy Crimson Dawn, could it be Yan Qixia? Brother Qi, you know us?" Ning and the other 2 were all shocked. Given Black Mountain Demon's status, a mountain god who commanded thousands of monsters, how could he know an ordinary scholar? How could he know the name of a ghost? How could he know an ordinary cultivator? "This matter is a long story." Black Mountain Demon shook his head. He waved his hand and released the Black Seal, which transformed into a towering mountain. "Come. Let's continue our discussion in my cave." "All right." Ning didn't hesitate at all as he agreed. Young Master, Junior Apprentice Brother, Xiaoqian and Yu Wei hurriedly pulled Ning back. Black Mountain Demon's ferocious reputation is awe-inspiring. If we deliver ourselves to him like this, Qi, if I wanted to deal with you, would I need to use such tricks? Seeing Xiaoqian and Yu Wei's actions, Black Mountain Demon laughed coldly, pursing his lips disdainfully. "Brother Qi, you must be joking." Ning laughed and nodded. "Brother Qi and I are best friends. Of all the people I suspect, I wouldn't suspect you." After comforting Yu Wei and Xiaoqian, Ning led the 2 of them into the air, landing atop the enormous Black Mountain. "Let's go." Black Mountain Demon waved his hand, and the enormous Black Mountain transformed into a ray of black light that howled through the air. After everyone left, A woman stepped out of the collapsed water demons in the subduing sea formation. This person was Nine Lotus. The water god is dead? Granny Tree Demon is dead as well? Good. Good. This is great. Ha 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 ha. Wonderful. Nine Lotus laughed wildly, unable to contain her joy. From today onwards, I am the new water god. The 3 rivers, 2 rivers, the 5 lakes, the 4 seas, the 10,000 waters of the world, the trillions of aquatic creatures, they are all under my control. Ha 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 ha. As Nine Lotus was preparing to ascend to the position of the water god, Ning and the others arrived at Black Mountain Demon's lair. Although it was called a lair, it was actually just a series of mountains. Rumble, as the Black Mountain descended, everyone followed the Black Mountain old fiend to a huge palace. Please sit. Chi-Hing sat down at the main seat on the dais, then waved his hand towards Ning and the others. After everyone was seated, Chi-Hing raised his head to look at Ning. Actually, I have some memories as well. However, they are different from yours. Oh? Brother Chi, your memories are? Ning hurriedly asked. I know Ning Kaichen, Nye Shaoqian, Yen Qixia, because, in my memories, this is a story. Chi-Hing looked towards Ning, a complicated look on his face. If I put it this way, will you understand? Understood. Understood. Ning happily stood up. No wonder you, Black Mountain Demon, are different from the story. Brother Chi, although you don't have any memories of the future, your current situation should be because you have awakened the memories of a certain reincarnation. Yes. In that life, my name was Chi-Hing, and I was a black market fighter from Earth. When I woke up, I somehow became the old demon of the Black Mountain. Chi-Hing shook his head helplessly. How could I not know what happened to Black Mountain Demon? Naturally, I can't follow his old path. Earth? Haha. Brother Chi, in my previous life, I also came from Earth. We are from the same hometown. Ning was overjoyed to meet an old friend in a foreign land, and he hurriedly began to talk to Chi-Hing about the past of Earth. Hey, what are you talking about? What is a transmigrator? What is a movie? What is Yen Qixia was originally a bearded man? What is Shaoqian should look like Zhu Xian? What the hell are you talking about? Fairy Crimson Dawn was completely confused, and she couldn't help but shout angrily. Ha 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 ha. Ning and Chi-Hing looked at each other, then laughed loudly. Chapter 1156. Very good. This show has reached the most critical moment. Li Yu's face was filled with eagerness as he watched. Next, it will be time for you to leave this world. That will also be the time when I will truly gain something. Big Boss Li's various games seemed to be purely for fun, but in reality, every single one of them had a purpose behind them. If you want to leave this world, you have to sever the me of this world. Severing the self, while retaining the true self, is a difficult problem. What will you choose? This was Li Yu's goal. To reach the nothingness of primordial chaos level, the key problem was this. If nothing else existed, then where would the self be? This fictional painting world was one of Li Yu's experiments. Compared to Li Yu's own method of severing the self and transforming into primordial chaos, leaving this painting world was much simpler. However, when these people left the painting world, their thoughts, their choices, their wisdom, perhaps they would be able to inspire Li Yu? Aside from Ji Ning's group, the countless monsters of the Witch River Immortal Estate have all entered this world as well. Now that these cultivators and monsters have understood the essence of this world, they will naturally want to leave. Li Yu rubbed his chin, then laughed and nodded. Thus, it is time for them to understand their previous lives. With a flick of his finger, an invisible force swept across the painting, and the painting world silently began to change. The Black Mountain. Ning, Chi-Hing, and the others were chatting within the main hall of the Black Mountain. Right at this moment, Ning sniffed, then suddenly rose to his feet in surprise. Do you smell something? Smell? I don't smell anything. Chi Heng, Yue, and Springgrass all sniffed while looking towards Ning with puzzled looks on their faces. There is the smell of ink. I can smell ink. Ning looked solemnly towards Chi Heng and the others. Earlier, I noticed ink as well. When you killed Shangliu Fang and Granny Dryad, I saw ink flow out from their corpses. What? Chi Heng was shocked, and he abruptly stood up. How is this possible? Why didn't I notice it? Yes, we didn't see it either. Yue and Springgrass shook their heads together. Could it be that, because I have memories and you don't, you can't see the ink? Ning just frowned. Brother Chi, I smell ink again. This is definitely not an illusion. The smell of ink. Chi Heng also frowned and looked up at Ji Ning. Where did you smell the ink? Not here. Ning stretched out his hand and pointed in a circle. They're everywhere. They were everywhere. It's as if we're standing right next to an inkwell. This world has a problem. Chi Heng nodded towards Ning. I've been in this world for more than 1,000 years. I've always had the vague feeling that something was off, but I've never been able to come up with a reason. 1,000 years. It seems that our timing is different? When Ning heard that Chi Heng had stayed for 1,000 years, his face was filled with shock. He had just woken up a few days ago. Even Ning Kaichen was only a dozen years old. Wait a minute. A dozen years old? Could it be that I've reincarnated countless times in this world? Reincarnation, Xiao Qian exclaimed. Yes, there must be reincarnations. I've been a ghost for more than 100 years. I've been cultivating for 260 cycles. Yue also reported how long she had been in this world. Brother Qi, do you still remember the original plot of a Chinese ghost story? Do you still remember old demon Black Mountain's identity? If we want to recover our memories, there's only one place. Ning's eyes flashed as he looked up at Chi Heng and said urgently. The underworld. Chi Heng's eyes flashed. The 3 Lives Stone. It seems that we have to go to the underworld. Yue pressed down on the long sword at her waist, her sword intent bursting forth. Then, let's mobilize and conquer the underworld. A black metal whip appeared in Chi Heng's hand. The thick power of the earth suddenly exploded, and the whip smashed down on the ground. Rumble! A violent boom rang out from Black Mountain. It traveled through the earth veins and spread throughout all the mountains in the world. Beat the drums. Gather the soldiers. Mobilize. My sons, follow me into the underworld. Your names will be removed from the book of life and death, and you will live forever. The mighty voice rang out from the earth veins and spread throughout the world. Roar, roar! In an instant, all the land monsters in the world raised their heads and roared at the sky. Monstrous demonic aura surged into the sky. Groups of monsters rode on demonic winds and charged towards Black Mountain. Half a day later, hundreds of thousands of monsters had gathered on Black Mountain. Apart from the tens of thousands of intelligent monsters, there were even more monsters. Mobilize the troops to the underworld. Let's go. The enormous Black Mountain suddenly charged up, bringing hundreds of thousands of monsters with it as it charged into the sky. The 9 Nether Underworld is deep underground. Chi Heng's entire body exploded with the power of the earth. The enormous Black Mountain transformed into a ray of black light and charged into the ground. Gates of the underworld, open for me. The enormous Black Mountain charged into the depths of the earth and heavily slammed into a pitch-black and cold screen of light. Rumble! The heavens fell and the earth cracked. The black screen of light instantly shattered. The enormous Black Mountain smashed into the screen of light, then smashed into a towering city pass in front of it, charging into a cold and deathly silent world. How dare you? You dare to attack the underworld? Old monster Black Mountain, you dare to be so rebellious? Angry roars rang out from within the underworld. A sinister wind howled and black mist surged. Countless ghosts and ghosts covered the sky as they swept over. Kill! Chi Heng let out a furious roar. The enormous black mountain exploded with light and smashed viciously towards the ghost army in front of it. Rumble! The enormous, boundless power crushed countless ghost soldiers and smashed apart the ghost army. But there were too many ghost soldiers. After the rampaging black mountain charged forward for 1,000 kilometers, it finally slowed down. Ji Ning! Qi Hing shouted towards Ji Ning. Then, he exploded with all his power and poured it into the black mountain, driving it forward. Understood. Ji Ning leapt out of the black mountain. Facing the densely packed ghost soldiers in front of him, he raised his long sword. Annihilation sword. 5 colored lights swirled around him as he chopped out with his sword, annihilating all living things. The endless ghost army in front of him was chopped open by Ji Ning's sword, creating an enormous rift. Blazing red lotus. Yue followed behind Ji Ning. Along the rift, she also chopped out with her sword. Heaven-shaking flames rose up, transforming into an enormous blazing red lotus that swept out from the rift, ensuring that the tunnel would never close again. Black Mountain Formation, arise! Qi Hing let out a furious roar, and the enormous black mountain exploded with boundless light. One streak of light after another intertwined, connecting all of the monsters on the black mountain together. The combined power of all of the monsters poured into the black mountain. Rumble! Hundreds of thousands of monsters joined forces, and the enormous black mountain once more charged forward, smashing everything in front of it into smithereens. Explosively, the black mountain had already broken through the ghost army. The 3-live stone is next to the pool of samsara. Charge! Qi Hing let out a loud roar, driving the black mountain towards the pool of samsara, smashing viciously towards it. Chapter 1157. How dare you act so impudently in the netherworld? Suddenly, a furious, heaven-shaking roar rang out in the skies. An incomparably enormous palm appeared, smashing downwards towards the black mountain as though it could blot out the skies. This palm contained the power of the entire netherworld. How terrifyingly powerful was the power of an entire world! The heavens were collapsing and the earth was collapsing. The enormous palm smashed downwards, causing cracks to appear in the skies. It was as though the entire world was about to be shattered. Once this palm struck, the black mountain would be blown apart, and no one would be able to survive. Yama, when Qi Hing saw this heaven-shaking palm, a fierce look appeared in his eyes. Since I dared to attack the netherworld, how can I not have some tricks up my sleeve? Black Mountain Seal. Suppress the netherworld. A thick, dense earth energy began to surge forth. Qi Hing let out a loud roar, pressing down with both hands. The entire Black Mountain trembled, and an aura of nirvanic and apocalyptic nirvanic energy began to explode forth from the Black Mountain. Rumble! After this aura of nirvanic and apocalyptic nirvanic energy exploded forth, the entire netherworld began to rumble. It was as though yet another hegemon had appeared within the netherworld. Half of the power of the netherworld, which had been activated by the Yama's palm, suddenly dissipated. Emperor East Peak? The netherworld emperor? The aura of nirvanic and apocalyptic nirvanic energy emanating from the Black Mountain seal caused the Yama to feel utterly stunned. Annihilation Sword. Ning, in perfect coordination with Qi Hing, took advantage of the fact that half of the power of the netherworld had dissipated to strike out with his sword. A 5-colored light that could annihilate all things soared into the skies, chopping apart all things. It was unstoppable. The sword light chopped through the skies, chopping the enormous palm which was descending towards them into 2 halves. A desolate, agonized scream rang out as the enormous palm exploded, causing blood to rain down. It's actually ink? Seeing the blood splatter everywhere, Ning began to frown. In Ning's eyes, after the giant palm shattered, what fell down wasn't blood at all, it was ink. What is the truth of this world? Ink, what is going on? Ning gripped his long sword tightly, his eyes cold. No matter what, I have to get to the 3 Lives Stone first. Sooner or later, I will reveal the truth. The Black Mountain Seal is a supreme treasure left behind by the Netherworld Emperor, the Emperor of the East Peak. The Emperor of the East Mountain was the ruler of the underworld before the Yama King level. Yama King, do you think you can stop me? Qi Hing snorted coldly, and the vigorous power of the earth surged again. The huge black mountain rampaged, crushing everything in its path. After one of Yama's palms was severed, he was forced to retreat in defeat. Soon after, the reincarnation pool appeared in front of everyone. Down below were 6 sparkling, enormous ancient wells, surrounded by a 10,000 meters tall rock. This boulder was the 3 Lives Stone. That's the 3 Lives Stone. Past, present, and future lives. Let's go and recover our memories. Qi Hing shouted loudly and waved his hand. A powerful force surged on the Black Mountain and sent everyone on the Black Mountain to the reincarnation pool. The huge Black Mountain transformed into a large seal and fell into Qi Hing's hand. Qi Hing floated down from the sky and arrived in front of the 3 Lives Stone. Past life, present life, and future life. According to what Ji Ning said, I lost my memories of the afterlife? Qi Hing took a deep breath. Afterlife? I want to see what sort of afterlife this is. He reached out and pressed his hand against the 3 Lives Stone. An enormous rumbling sound rang out in his mind, as though a shackle had been unlocked. Memories that had been sealed away for many years now resurfaced in Qi Hing's mind. Ah ha ha ha! These are my memories? How interesting! Otar Huanyuan's memories and the memories of the Grand Xia cultivator, Qi Hing, resurfaced in Qi Hing's mind. Now that his memories had been restored, Qi Hing could tell that everything before him was completely different. It really is the smell of ink. The entire world is filled with the smell of ink. Jining Yue had regained her memories. When she thought back to what had happened within the sea suppression formation, she couldn't help but blush. Young master, I'm spring grass. I'm spring grass. Xiaoqian had regained her memories as well. She grabbed Ning's hand, tears of joy streaming down her face. Ji Ning, you were absolutely right. This world, it is filled with the smell of ink. At this moment, Qi Hing walked over, a solemn look on his face as he stared at Ning. Based on my speculations, this world is most likely nothing more than a painting. An ink painting. He pointed towards the netherworld before him. There is no netherworld, no mortal world. Everything is fake. Fake? Isn't this a dream of a past life? Perhaps we've simply returned to our past lives under the influence of this painting. It might not necessarily be fake, right? Ning didn't quite agree with Qi Hing's judgment. Right. Everything that happened in this life has to be real. Young master, I am Xiaoqian. I am spring grass. As spring grass saw it, this was clearly a return to their past lives. Although this wasn't a true past life, it was nothing more than a dream. Still, this experience was definitely real. I think it's more likely to be a dream as well. Yue didn't feel that everything in this world was fake either. To her, the feeling of being together within the sea suppression formation was real. It was something that she would forever remember. A dream is fine. A painting is fine. There's nothing different about it. Qi Hing chuckled, then turned to look at Ning and the others. His face turned solemn. I think I've found a way to return. What way? Ning and the others were shocked. They looked at Qi Hing with faces full of surprise. If this is a painting, how can the person in the painting not be in the painting? Of course, it's to erase their existence from the painting. With a wave of his hand, the Black Mountain seal appeared in his hand. Emperor East Mountain, the seal of the Netherworld Emperor, wields the authority of the Netherworld Kingdom. However, it's not mine. Using his fingers as a blade, he viciously chopped down on the Black Mountain seal. Crack! The seal that Qi Hing had left on the Black Mountain seal shattered. This caused Chi Heng's face to turn pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Brother Chi, seeing this, Ning let out a cry of surprise. It's fine. Everything is fake. This mouthful of blood is also fake. Raising his head to look at the sky, a strange smile appeared on Chi Heng's face. Long, long ago, in my past life, I've seen illusions that were even more realistic. Although this illusion was real, it seemed like someone had intentionally exposed the smell of ink. This hint is already very obvious. If you want to escape from the illusion, you have to see through reality and illusion. Turning his head to look at Ji Ning, Chi Heng smiled. In this painting, even my existence is an illusion. Only by cutting away all the fake can you see the truth. But what if it's not a painting? What if it's real? Wouldn't you be committing suicide? Yue Wei frowned as she looked at Chi Heng. Isn't this too risky? Of course I'm not committing suicide. I'm just cutting away everything that doesn't belong to me, including my current body, including all the memories I have here. He raised his hand, and the vast power of the earth condensed in his palm. Cut away all the fake and see the truth. With a boom, Chi Heng annihilated himself with a palm strike. Everything vanished into thin air. It was as if Chi Heng had never existed. He succeeded? Or failed? Ning and the others looked at each other. This question, unless he tried it himself, he would never be able to find the answer. Should they commit suicide like Chi Heng? What if his judgment was wrong? Chapter 1158. Brother Chi, have you succeeded or not? Ning stared at the Black Mountain seal hovering in the air, not saying a word. Young master, to leave this world, do we really have to sever everything from this world? Young master, I don't want to sever Xiaoqian's life, nor do I want to sever Ning Caichen's life. Spring Grass looked towards Ning, her eyes filled with boundless love. Whether in the past or the present, Xiaoqian or Spring Grass, they are both me. Why do I have to sever my own memories? I don't want to forget all of this. Chi Heng's method might be correct for him, but it might not be for us. Yue Wei shook her head. Reality and illusion are different in everyone's eyes. Chi Heng feels that the memories of this world are illusions, that they are fake. However, I feel that my heart is the only real thing. It's definitely different. Ning turned his head, smiling towards the two. Brother Chi feels that this is a painting. Only by erasing all traces of yourself within the painting can you leave it. Severing all illusions and revealing the truth is indeed the correct thing to do. But why do you have to sever me? Since this world is an illusion, then let's sever it. All right. My heart is the only real thing. My heart is the only one. Junior apprentice brother, let's sever this world together. Yue Wei gripped her sword hilt, sword intent erupting from her entire body. Whether it's a dream or an illusion, it doesn't matter where it is. As long as I can stay by your side, that's enough. Spring Grass stood behind Ning, a smile on her face. I don't care about the result. I only care about the process. Everything that I experience with you, young master, this is my reality. Rumble. Right at this moment, an enormous explosion could be heard from the horizon. A cold wind howled angrily, a black fog roiled, and a vast, boundless aura filled the skies. You have caused chaos in the netherworld. Unforgivable. A black aura filled the skies, and a middle-aged man wearing a flat crown and black imperial robes appeared. He stood in midair atop a black cloud, his face filled with rage as he stared at Ning's group. Kill, kill, kill. Behind the emperor-robed man, an endless amount of dark clouds began to howl. A dense mass of countless ghostly soldiers formed into an enormous military formation, surrounding the group. Ning, young master, Yue Wei and Chun Chao's faces turned pale as they saw the King of Hell's monstrous aura and the endless ghost soldiers in front of them. Previously, It was Qi Heng who had joined forces with hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers to activate the Black Mountain seal of Imperial Lord East Mountain. Only then had they broken through the obstruction and found the Three Lives Stone. Now, Qi Heng was gone, the Black Mountain seal was ownerless, and those hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers, Where are the demon soldiers? Where are the hundreds of thousands of demon soldiers that Qi Heng brought over? Ning suddenly realized that the hundreds of thousands of monstrous soldiers surrounding the Three Lives Stone had actually disappeared. Ha 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 ha. Sure enough, everything was an illusion. Then, I'll cut down all these fabrications. Ning raised his longsword, causing the five-colored sword light to surge into the skies. He turned his head to look at Springgrass and Yue. It will definitely be extremely difficult to annihilate this world. Senior Marshal Sister, Chun Chao, this road is extremely dangerous and difficult. Do you want to go with me? If you live, I live. If you die, I die. Springgrass didn't hesitate at all, taking a step forward and standing shoulder to shoulder with Ning. It's not the first time we've gone through life and death together. Why do you need to ask? Yue raised her longsword, standing by Ning's side. Then, kill. Leaping into the air, Ning let out an angry roar and brandished his longsword. The all-annihilating sword light howled through the air, chopping viciously towards the army of ghostly soldiers in front of him. Battle. Endless, unending battle. Endless, unending battle. He didn't know how long he had fought for, or how many ghostly soldiers he had killed. He had used up all of his ki and used up all of his pills. His entire body was covered with wounds, and in many places, his white bones could be seen. Ning was still holding on. He was still fighting. But Springgrass was no longer able to hold on. Yue was no longer able to hold on either. Springgrass's soul body was already on the verge of dissipating, while Yue could barely stand. The path to annihilating the world truly is incomparably difficult. It isn't enough to have the heart to annihilate the world. I also need the power to annihilate the world. Ning's heart was filled with unwillingness. My choice is my heart. My path is definitely not wrong. However, my strength is not enough. I still cannot destroy this dreamscape. Dreamscape? Ha 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 ha. I understand now. I understand now. Everything is an illusion. Thus, Ning raised his head. He stared at the endless horde of ghostly soldiers in front of him, then stared at Emperor Yama, whose divine aura filled the heavens. A hint of a smile appeared on his face. Thus, your power is also illusory. Your very existence is an illusion. Sword of Annihilation, sever all illusions. A vast, five-colored light soared into the heavens, sweeping out like a furious tide. It filled the skies, blotting out the earth. Under the sweeping power of this annihilation light, the countless ghostly soldiers, the mighty Yama King, and even the entire Netherworld Kingdom itself, all of them vanished into thin air. Everything had been an illusion. Crunch. The sound of space shattering could be heard. The cold, dark Netherworld Kingdom was like a shattered mirror, shattering into pieces and disintegrating into nothingness. We succeeded? Upon seeing this, the dying Springgrass and Yue's bodies trembled. They looked towards Ning, their faces filled with delight. We succeeded. But there's still someone we need to meet. Ning nodded, then looked at the three of them, their bodies covered with wounds. He shook his head. Everything is an illusion. The Netherworld Kingdom is an illusion. The mortal world is an illusion as well. In fact, even the wounds on our bodies are an illusion. With a wave of his hand, all of the wounds on his body instantly healed, leaving behind not a single scar. The wounds on your bodies are an illusion as well. With a wave of his sleeve, a strange surge of energy swept out, instantly healing the wounds on Yue and Springgrass as well. Faith energy? Just because I believe that there are no wounds, there must be no wounds? This fellow, Ji Ning, truly lives up to his reputation as the chosen of the heavens. He was actually able to gain insights into faith energy from this place. Upon seeing this, Liu laughed and nodded. So long as one's faith was firm, so long as one believed that their wounds were fake, then they wouldn't be wounded. This was because this world was fake to begin with. Everything was fake. But to ensure that others weren't wounded as well, that wasn't easy. This meant that Ning had already gained a basic understanding of faith energy. Let's go. Let's leave the Netherworld Kingdom. Ning reached out to grab Yue and Springgrass, then took a single step forward, leaving the crumbling Netherworld Kingdom and returning to the mortal world. Distance is an illusion as well. Raising his head to look at the world around him, Ning chuckled, then took another step forward. The world changed. In the blink of an eye, Ning's group of 3 appeared within a vast sea. Greetings, Lord Water God. Beneath the sea, within a towering, extravagant palace, 9 Lotus was seated high above, and countless aquatic monsters were kneeling before her. 9 Lotus, have you lost yourself in an illusion? Ning's group of 3 suddenly, noiselessly appeared within the palace. Ning stared at the awe-inspiring 9 Lotus seated high above him, then sighed and shook his head. 9 Lotus, she isn't the same type of person as me. Ning let out a long sigh. This first girlfriend of his would most likely become an ex-girlfriend. Chapter 1159. Who is it? The sudden appearance of Ning's group caused 9 Lotus to be both shocked and enraged. Ning Kaichen? Yan Qixia? And Xiao Qian? You actually dare to barge into my underwater estate? You are courting death. 9 Lotus rose to her feet, her surroundings seething with waves of water and a murderous aura. 9 Lotus, seeing this, Ning let out a resigned sigh. She was his ex-girlfriend, after all. Ning didn't want to start a fight with her. 9 Lotus, you haven't regained your memories. I now have the power to help you regain your memories. With a flick of his finger, he sent a surge of faith energy into 9 Lotus' mind. Liu's seal on everyone's memories had already been undone. This surge of faith energy was like a key that instantly broke through the shackles. Jining. Yue, the faith energy cleansed her soul. 9 Lotus' body trembled as she regained her memories. And then, no. This is all fake. Ning Kaichen, you actually dared to use sorcery to mess with my heart? You are courting death. Men, seize him. She had regained her memories, but she didn't believe them to be real. Truth and falsehood, illusion and reality, it all depends on each person's choice. So that's how it is. Ning gave 9 Lotus a deep look, then sighed and shook his head. Since you believe this place to be real, then do as you please. 9 Lotus didn't want to believe that her memories were real. She didn't want to believe that they were real. Even though Ning wanted her to leave, she didn't want to. There was nothing anyone could do. You would take care of yourself. Ning shook his head, then turned to look at Yue and Springgrass. Let's go back. All right. Yue and Springgrass both understood the truth. Springgrass's truth was that she followed Ning. Wherever he went, she would go. This was the truth. Yue's truth was that my heart is the truth. After helping Ning break through all illusions, they were now qualified to leave the world of the painting. Light flashed, and the 3 of them instantly disappeared. This is, seeing the 3 of them suddenly disappear, 9 Lotus' entire body trembled. Can it be he was telling the truth? Can those memories be real? No. That was fake. I am the water god. I control all the water in the world and billions of demons. I have the strongest power in the world. One day I will be able to rule this world. I am not the lover of a little cultivator, nor am I the successor of a tribe. Instead, I am the ruler of this world. Ning Kaichen, you can't mess with my mind. I don't want these fabricated memories. With a wave of his hand, the 9 Lotus slash erased the awakened memories in his mind. Temperament determines one's path. Qi Hing knew that there was a power in this world that he couldn't resist. For example, the Emperor of Origins back then, and the current Tao ancestor black-yellow. Therefore, he left the world of the scroll and chose to cut off all traces of himself in the scroll. Severing oneself required more courage than severing others. Ning didn't have a deep understanding of the world, and so he didn't have the feeling that he couldn't resist it. In addition, he had the fearlessness of a fledgling. Therefore, he chose to destroy the entire world. As for Nine Lotus, she was a woman who pursued power. Naturally, power was her #1 priority. Therefore, she erased her memories. The plot of a Chinese ghost story has come to an end. Liu chuckled. He no longer paid any attention to Ning and the others who had left the scroll, nor did he care about the painting he had tossed out. I'll treat this scroll world as a reward for all of you. As for which one of you gets the painting, that's none of my business. Turning back, Liu began to ponder the benefits of this experiment. Qi Heng's choice is to cut off his own brand, so as to no longer exist in this world. To me, this is an inspiration. Liu tapped the table in front of him, pondering. According to this method, if I cut off all traces of myself in spacetime, all matter, all laws, all karma, and all fate, would I also be considered to cease to exist? Would I also be considered to have nothing in the primordial chaos? But in this way, aside from the concept of myself, I would have nothing else. No one would remember Liu. No one would know about Liu. Spacetime, matter, laws, karma, and fate would all cease to exist. Liu would no longer exist. Was there any meaning to existing in such a manner? Qi Heng's method definitely cannot be used. Liu shook his head. This sort of state will completely erase all traces of myself. It'll be as though I never existed. This sort of state is completely meaningless. At this point, there would be no difference between existing and not existing. Jining's method is to destroy the entire world. To me, that means destroying all worlds and spacetime, reducing everything to nothingness and chaos. Liu shook his head again. Even if everything is reduced to nothingness and cease to exist, I still won't be able to reach the level of nothing in the primordial chaos. It's completely meaningless. It seemed as though this experiment had already failed. I was mentally prepared for the failure of this experiment long ago. The most difficult part of nothing in the primordial chaos is to both destroy one's own body and make it indestructible. Thus, the experiment must continue. Liu turned his head to look at the three realms, a hint of a smile on his face. You listened to my Tao lecture at the Dark Yellow Palace and benefited from it. Now it's time to pay it back. He waved his hand and struck out with his palm, causing an invisible surge of power to envelop the entire three realms. In this moment, all of the living beings within the three realms suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of dread. The Golden Immortals and Tao Fathers were so shocked that they all jumped to their feet. They raised their heads to stare at the three realms, their hearts filled with waves of shock. The apocalypse, the apocalypse, the apocalypse? The three realms have already reached the apocalypse? The Golden Immortals, Tao Fathers, and Elder Gods could all sense the aura of the apocalypse that permeated the world. It was as though the entire world was wailing in grief. Since the birth of this world, it has already reached the end of the epoch? Why is it so early? Can it be that the primordial war shattered heaven and earth, damaging the prime essences of heaven and earth, causing the apocalypse of the three realms to arrive early? All of the major powers were silent. The apocalypse is coming. The apocalypse is coming. At the Golden Immortal level, the Tao Fathers were already one with the heavenly Tao and coexisted with the world. However, now that this world was about to come to an end, continuing to coexist with the world would only result in death. Tao Father Black Yellow said that there are great Taos beyond the great Taos, and worlds beyond the world. Thus, leaving the three realms is the only way to survive. But how could one transcend the world? One's body, soul, cultivation, great Daos, everything came from this world. Everything was a part of this world. Once the world came to an end, even if one fled to the depths of the universe, one would not be able to avoid the apocalypse. One would still perish along with the world. How could one transcend? How could one transcend? Find Taofather Black Yellow. I request an audience with Taofather Black Yellow. When faced with a life and death crisis, when faced with the apocalypse of the three realms and unable to think of a solution, one could only seek out his master. Chapter 1160. The storm of the three realms is about to descend, and the end of heaven and earth is at hand. Master, please take pity on us and bestow upon us a method to avoid this tribulation. Master, please be merciful. Master, please be merciful. We pray with all our hearts. Master, please take into account the difficulties we have faced in our cultivation and bestow upon us a path to survival. The golden immortals, the pure yang true immortals, and all of the immortals and gods of the three realms who were listening to the sermon in the arcane yellow palace all fasted, bathed, burned incense, and kowtowed. 1 day. 2 days. After a total of 81 days of praying and kowtowing, Taofather Arcane Yellow finally responded. Ugh! A long sigh rang out, causing the hearts of the praying immortals to tremble. They were all overjoyed. Master, please be merciful. The immortals and gods kowtowed even more sincerely. Where there is life, there is death. Where there is success, there is failure. The birth and the end of a world are the laws of heaven and earth. When heaven and earth come to an end, a new world can be born from the primordial chaos. Master, please be merciful. Master, please be merciful. We all understand the principles you speak of. But when the next epoch is born, even if new living beings are born, we will no longer exist. We will become golden immortals and elder gods. Who would want to die? Oh well. You have come to listen to my sermon in the arcane yellow palace. This can be considered as a karmic bond being forged. I will instruct you on a path to transcendence. Thank you, Master. The praying immortals and gods were so overjoyed that they began to weep. Master, he really hadn't abandoned us. Master truly was merciful. If they knew that all of this was an experiment set up by Li Yu, they would probably vomit blood, right? Watch carefully. This is the method to transcendence. A speck of light lit up. In front of all of the praying immortals and gods, a vast ocean appeared. In this vast ocean, countless fishes were swimming back and forth. And then, the ocean began to shrink and wither, and the countless fish began to die. The ocean began to dry up. Their living places were about to disappear. The end of the world was about to come. Some of the stronger fish began to struggle out of the ocean. Some of the fishes rushed out of the water and landed on the shore. Then, they all died on the shore. It seemed as though extinction. The ocean began to dry up, and more fish began to die. None of the fish that rushed out of the water and landed on the shore could survive. Fish, they can't leave the water. But what if it's not a fish? Just as he finished speaking, a change occurred in the remnant sea. Voila! With the sound of water splashing, a fish rushed out of the water and whizzed into the sky. Bang! Countless drops of blood burst out from the fish's body, and its scales fell off one after another. Its flesh and blood were peeled off one after another, and all traces of it being a fish were removed. Tsk, with a bird cry, the fish suddenly turned into a bird. It spread its wings and soared into the blue sky. Soon after, more fish rushed out. They turned into insects, some into beasts, and some into snakes. They were no longer fish, they had already transcended the ocean. Cut off all barriers and become free. Break free from the shackles and see the truth. This is the method of transcendence. The light screen instantly disappeared without a trace. Teacher is merciful. Thank you, teacher. Seeing the scene in front of them, the immortals and gods all understood that to transcend this world, it was like a fish leaving the sea. Only by killing all the fish's bodies could they turn into birds and roam the world freely. But how could he sever this body and still maintain his own existence? This was the biggest problem. Fish could turn into birds, but they could also turn into snakes, insects, and beasts. Teacher only talked about the great Tao. Everyone had their own methods. This method had to be comprehended by oneself. After understanding the true meaning of Tao Father Xuanhuang's words, the immortals and gods all entered secluded meditation to comprehend their own methods of transcendence. For a fish to turn into a bird, it first has to know what a bird is. The 3,000 great Taos that teacher spoke of are birds. Some people severed their own Tao and poured everything into the 3,000 great Tao. Some people believed that there was no need to sever their own bodies. As long as they turned into birds, they would be able to transcend. Everyone had their own methods, and everyone had their own understanding. Li Yu's face was all smiles. All that's left is to wait. Wait for the harvest season to arrive. The tribulation of the three realms? The end of the world? Heh, I'm not a member of the three realms. The destruction of the three realms has nothing to do with me. Old Man Yuan's face was covered in a cold smile. Since the end of the tribulation is about to arrive, my plan will be even more convenient. A tribulation had been about to happen, and now that it had arrived, he could take advantage of the chaos. Tribulation? Tribulation? Good. The tribulation is about to arrive. Patriarch Demonheart, who had been slain by Nuwa and had been forced to merge a bit of his true soul into the Tao of the demon heart, let out a loud laugh. Once the tribulation arrives, the hearts of the people will waver, and the demon heart will flourish. The day of my escape won't be too far off. I severed everything about myself long ago, leaving only a bit of my true soul behind. Even if the three realms are destroyed, it will have nothing to do with me. Once I escape the three realms, I'll be able to roam the world as I please. Patriarch Demonheart felt as though this was a godsend. Illusions. This is all an illusion. Li Yu laughed and shook his head. This is just an experiment. You're overthinking things. Within the Moon Palace, Fuxi, Gonggong, Hui, and Chang'e were seated in a circle, their faces solemn. The tribulation really has arrived. Fuxi let out a long sigh. I only saw a small portion of the tribulation. Now, this is the true tribulation of the world. The destruction of the three realms, the destruction of countless living beings. Even though Teacher has bestowed upon them the Tao of Transcendence, how many people will actually be able to do so? That's right. Not even we can guarantee that we'll be able to transcend, to say nothing of those mortals. When the tribulation comes, we'll only be able to save ourselves. We won't be able to save anyone else. Hui let out a long sigh, then shook his head. Atop Mount Ling Amitabha's face was filled with grief. All living beings are suffering, but we aren't able to deliver them. Alas, even Buddhas aren't able to deliver themselves. How can they deliver the living beings of the world? Tathagata and Maitreya both let out long sighs, then lowered their heads and said nothing. The Swallow Mountain region of the Grand Xia dynasty. After leaving the world of the painting, Qi Heng, Ning, and the others all came to Serpentwing Lake. Brother Qi, can you sense that this world seems to be somewhat different? Ning and Qi Heng's levels of cultivation were still low, and so they weren't able to sense the aura of the end of heaven and earth. Still, they could sense that everything was different. It is indeed rather strange. However, our current levels of cultivation are still too low. There's no way for us to know the truth. Qi Heng shook his head. No matter what, the most important thing is to increase our power. As he spoke, Qi Heng glanced at Ning, then laughed. Right. After you take that painting, Does senior apprentice Sister Nine Lotus still not want to come out? Yes. Ning let out a long sigh. The Witch River Immortal Estate is actually a painting. That celestial immortal Witch River actually did something like this. This isn't something that celestial immortal Witch River can accomplish. Chi-Hing shook his head. As I see it, the person who painted this painting is far from a celestial immortal. However, this is something that we can't do anything about. Young Flame Nong is dead. Shangli Yufang is dead as well. Nine Lotus refuses to come out. This matter is quite troublesome. Ning once more shook his head. It can't be considered troublesome. Chi-Hing laughed. When the time comes, we'll just hand this painting over. What can we do about something that is beyond our abilities? Young Flame Nong and Shangli Yufang, you were the one who killed them. You severed the memories of old monster Black Mountain's reincarnation. Do you think you can deny all responsibility? Ning was speechless. Chapter 1161. This is only an experiment, and also a game. Liu sat in the chaos outside the Three Realms. A screen of light appeared in the great hall of the Umbral Palace, displaying the infinite dimensions of the Three Realms and the countless lives within. Of course, this is all an illusion. The connate Great Void Tao could create an illusory world out of thin air. The illusory world concealed reality, and the beings of the Three Realms unwittingly sank into it. I'm definitely not going to destroy the Three Realms and bring this world to an end. For the sake of an experiment, I'm going to destroy an entire world and kill countless lives. How could I, with my benevolence, do something like that? Liu looked at the screen of light in front of him with a smile. A bit of illusory power rushed out of his fingertip and entered the screen of light. Great Void Illusory Realm, Time Acceleration. Even if the Three Realms fell into an end, it would take over 10,000 years for it to completely disappear. An illusory world constructed by the Great Void Tao was much more convenient to operate. Time continued to flow in the illusory world within the screen of light. The crisis of the end of Nirvana was imminent, and the beings of the Three Realms were even more eager to seek transcendence. What I want is for you to think of a way to transcend. What I want is for you to sever your connection with the Three Realms. With the wisdom of countless people gathered together, I will be able to gain some inspiration from the sparks of your wisdom. Liu himself was indeed at a loss on how to deal with the chaos nothingness. He did not know where to start. Nothing existed in the chaos, and everything became chaos. But, if even he didn't exist, then there was no way he could continue playing. It's not just cultivators. All sentient beings in the Three Realms will have thoughts of survival in the face of destruction. Perhaps most of these thoughts are worthless. But even if they're just random thoughts, perhaps they can be enlightened? The Great Void Illusory Realm could display all the thoughts of the beings of the Three Realms. Liu only needed to slowly watch. 1,000 years passed in the blink of an eye within the illusory realm. Forefather Windfiend has already found a way to lead everyone out of this world. But the Forefather's abilities and spells are yet to be perfected. We need time. The Three Realms is a pond. Now there was less and less water in the pond. If we want to stall for time, we have to reduce the number of fish in the pond. Kill the people of Disk Ancient World. Only by killing them all will the living beings of our seamless world have a chance to transcend. Kill, under the instigation of Patriarch Demonheart and Old Man Yuan, the War of the Three Realms had officially begun. The Three Realms was formed from the fusion of the Pangu world and the Seamless world. Over the past hundreds of millions of years, the Three Realms immortals and gods had gradually lost the hostility of the Pangu formation and the Seamless formation, slowly becoming one. However, at this juncture of life and death, where all living beings were striving for transcendence, a single spark was enough to reignite the flames of war. The Three Realms was like a pond. As the water decreased, it would dry up sooner or later. But if the number of fish in the pond decreased as well, he would be able to buy more time. After all, until now, no immortal god had been able to truly comprehend the method of transcendence from the black-yellow Tao ancestor. The seamless formation had begun the war, and the Pangu formation had accepted the challenge without hesitation. The flames of war were everywhere. The countless planes and spacetime of the three realms were all drawn into the flames of war. Slaughter and destruction were everywhere. This was because Patriarch Windfiend was researching a way to lead the living beings of the three realms into transcendence, while the Amitabha formation of the Pangu formation was researching a way to deliver the living beings of the three realms. They had discovered that the karmic energy of the living beings of the three realms seemed to be a grand Tao that allowed the fish to transform into birds. And so, as a result, it wasn't just cultivators who were fighting over the karmic energy of the living beings of the three realms. Even mortals were fighting each other. A tribulation. This is a true tribulation. Fushi stared at the flames of war, a look of misery on his face. As the holy emperor of the human race, I have mastered the pre-celestial Tao of Tai and am in control of destiny. But I am unable to see through destiny. There is nothing I can do about it. Your Majesty Fushi, I can't watch any longer. Hoi stared at the flames of war in the three realms. He clenched his fists tightly. The seamless demons are wreaking havoc upon the living beings of the three realms. I'm going to fight. Of course we're going to fight. Gong stood up as well, aqueous light surging from his body. No matter what the mastermind behind the scenes is planning, we've already escaped his control. We just have to be careful in this battle. All right. Fushi stood up abruptly. Then let's fight. With Gong, Hoi, Chang'e, Fushi, and the others joining the fray, the battle became even more intense. Taofather's three pure ones, how should we deal with this battle? In Tushita Palace, Lord Tathagata looked helplessly at three pure ones. Teacher has bestowed upon us the art of transcendence. As long as we meditate and comprehend it, there will always be a chance to transcend the world. But I can't calm my heart anymore. I do have some insights. I'd like to share them with you, fellow Taoist. Three pure ones slapped the top of his head, and three streaks of azure energy shot out of his head. Taoism's three pure ones and Buddhism's three corpses. These two arts both require one to sever a part of oneself. Teacher's art of transcendence requires one to sever the body of a fish and transform into a bird. Then, three pure ones looked up at Lord Tathagata. What if we sever ourselves in this battle? Lord Tathagata paused, then burst into laughter. Good. I understand what you mean, fellow Taoist. Then let's give up this body. The Buddhists are joining the battle. I wield holy virtue and wield the sword of holy virtue to bring order to the universe. The holy Emperor Xianyuan raised the Xianyuan sword high above his head and commanded the cultivators of the various human tribes to fight the seamless formation in an earth-shattering battle. The three realms are fighting to this extent? Liu frowned when he saw the flames of war everywhere in the heavenly plains. They're only focused on fighting and not on studying the art of transcendence. This doesn't meet my requirements. Then, let's create an example of transcendence. The power of an example is limitless. With a flick of his finger, Qi Heng, who was cultivating in seclusion in the three realms, suddenly gained a hint of enlightenment. 1,000 years had passed within the illusory world. Qi Heng had already reached the golden immortal level of power. However, as Autarch Hunyuan, Qi Heng didn't feel much of a sense of belonging to the three realms. He only cared about his own cultivation and didn't pay any attention to the war in the three realms at all. Even though Ji Ning had joined the battle, Qi Heng still hadn't. A golden immortal Taofather was incredibly powerful, but he kept a very low profile and only cared about cultivation. This made it so that neither side dared to rashly provoke him. Although I was Autark Hunyuan in my past life, this body came from the three realms as well. The destruction of the three realms is connected to me as well. For me, transcendence is the most important thing. But how can I transcend? I've seen Taofather Black Yellow's method of transforming a fish into a bird from someone else. Severing myself isn't hard. The hard part is how to transform into a bird after severing the fish. Why do I have to transform into a bird? I'm clearly a yellow bear. If I sever my three realms body and only have my Hunyuan body left, wouldn't that be enough? In this moment, Qi Hing suddenly understood his own method of transcendence. Chapter 1162. Sever all barriers and gain freedom. Break free from your shackles and see the truth. A vast yellow light soared into the sky, shaking heaven and earth, and causing the heavens to tremble. His mighty voice spread throughout the three realms. At that moment, Qi Heng's figure appeared in the endless space of the three realms. Amidst the dense yellow light, a figure in golden robes reached out and beckoned. An earth-mystic gold whip appeared in his hand. This is transcendence? Tao ancestor Qi Heng has actually comprehended the method of transcendence? The immortals and gods of the three realms were dumbfounded at this sight. Someone had actually comprehended the method of transcendence? Cease fire! Cease fire! At that moment, all the battles in the three realms came to a halt. Countless cultivators stared intently at the scene in the sky. They did not even blink. Someone had transcended. This was a rare opportunity. If they could gain enlightenment from Qi Heng's transcendence, then what was the point of fighting? If they could transcend the three realms and be untainted by karma, then what was the point of fighting? Once they transcended, what did it have to do with them fighting to the death? At that moment, all the living beings of the three realms and all the gods and Buddhas looked nervously and expectantly at the figure in the sky. Would Tao ancestor Qi Heng be able to transcend? Sever all falsehood and attain the true self? Under the shocked gazes of all the living beings of the three realms, Qi Heng raised his earth-mystic gold whip and smashed it heavily on his own head. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, the golden-robed figure was destroyed by his own attack. All that was left was a sky full of flowing yellow light. The golden-robed figure suddenly disappeared. Did he fail? All the gods of the three realms heaved a long sigh. The method of transcendence was indeed not that easy. Since he couldn't transcend, then, he would continue fighting. Roar! Just as the flames of war were about to reignite, an earth-shattering roar suddenly rang out in the sky. Yellow light surged into the sky. Within the yellow light, a giant yellow bear hundreds of thousands of feet tall roared at the sky. From this day forth, I am no longer Qi Heng. My name is Hunyuan. A mighty voice resounded through the three dimensions. As yellow light flashed, the enormous yellow bear transformed back into a figure in dark golden robes. There didn't seem to be any difference, but the gods of the three realms clearly discovered that Qi Heng no longer had the aura of the three realms on him. It jumped out of the three realms and the five elements. It was as if it was independent of the heavens and the earth. Karma didn't occupy it and fate didn't exist. He had already transcended. Qi Heng had already transcended. Teacher's great Tao is indeed feasible. The method of transcendence was real. He could really transcend. I can really transcend. At that moment, the immortals of the three realms trembled and were overjoyed. Tao ancestor Hunyuan, please bestow upon me the technique. Tao ancestor Hunyuan, please bestow upon me the technique. Tao ancestor Hunyuan, please bestow upon me the technique. The gods and countless living beings of the three realms bowed to Qi Heng and begged him to bestow them the method to transcend. There is only the path of transcendence, but there is no way to transcend. Qi Heng was silent for a moment before shaking his head. Everyone is different. Karma was different, fate was different, and temperament was different. Only I can use my magic. But you guys can't use it. Hearing Qi Heng's words, the gods fell silent. They all knew that Qi Heng was right. Everyone was different, and it was impossible for the method to transcend to be the same. Qi Heng's path of transcendence couldn't be taken by others. I'm from the three realms after all, so I'll tell you guys about my method of transcendence. This method can only be used as a reference and can't be copied. Qi Heng smiled. Once, I entered the painting world of a mighty figure. When I left that world, I understood a principle. How can I not be in a painting? That is, to erase all traces of myself in the painting. It's the same principle in the current three realms. Cut off everything in the three realms and leave only a bit of the immortal true spirit. This is my method of transcendence. With that, yellow light surged, and Qi Heng's figure instantly rushed out of the sky and into the chaos nothingness. Qi Heng actually used the Hunyuan bloodline that I bestowed upon him to transcend? He cheated. Li Yu shook his head with a smile. Since someone has transcended, then my illusion will have to expand. With a wave of his hand, the power of the great void spread out, and a vast star domain appeared outside the three realms. Although it's just an illusion, the power of the great void can turn the false into the real. This is also very easy. Therefore, anyone who transcends can retain all their comprehension and power. Consider it a reward. Li Yu turned to look at the three realms. Qi Heng's transcendence should ignite the fighting spirit of countless people. Next, there will definitely be more people wholeheartedly devoted to transcendence. Without a successful example before, everyone didn't have much confidence in comprehending Tao Ancestor Black Yellow's path of transcendence. Now, a living example was placed in front of them, and everyone witnessed it with their own eyes. This was very motivating. If Qi Heng can succeed, why can't I succeed? Cease fire. Cease fire. With Qi Heng's example, the gods of the three realms were even more confident in transcendence, and no one wanted to continue fighting. If they had the time to fight, they might as well be like Qi Heng and enter secluded meditation. Didn't you see that Qi Heng wasn't participating in the battle? He had already transcended. Both sides had reached a tacit agreement to stop the war that had spread throughout the three realms. Bastard! Why aren't we fighting? Why aren't we fighting? I was so close. I was so close to breaking free from the heavenly Daos. Patriarch Demonheart was so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. Fine, he was just a bit of a true soul. He couldn't vomit blood. Qi Heng has transcended? The other mastermind, Old Man Yuan, frowned when he saw Qi Heng transcend. When Qi Heng was listening to the Tao at the Dark Yellow Palace, he was seated in the first row. Now, it seems as though Taofather Black Yellow arranged this on purpose. Qi Heng truly is an extraordinary person. Aside from Qi Heng, the other person who sat in the first row was Ji Ning, Taofather Dark North. If Old Man Yuan could think of this, then so could the other gods of the three realms. Fellow Taoist Dark North, Crimson Bright has come to pay you a visit. The first person to seek out Ning was Taofather Crimson Bright, the ruler of the Grand Xia dynasty and a series of other worlds. When we were listening to the Tao at the Dark Yellow Palace, fellow Taoist Dark North was seated in the first row. Now that you've already become a golden immortal, your talent truly is extraordinary. Taofather Black Yellow's arrangements truly are profound. Taofather Crimson Bright smiled radiantly as soon as he entered the room. Fellow Taoist Crimson Bright, you praise me too much. Ning laughed and shook his head. Compared to fellow Taoist Qi Heng, I'm far inferior. Yes, Taofather Hunyuan was the first person to master the Tao of transcendence and established a new path. We truly admire you. Taofather Crimson Bright smiled as he looked towards Ning. Taofather Dark North, might I ask, what do you think of the Tao of transcendence? Transcendence, Ning let out a long sigh. I have no idea either. I have to sever all traces of myself and erase all traces of myself from the three realms. I can't do it. In truth, if Ning wanted to transcend, he could have done so long ago. When he saw Qi Hing manifest his true form of the yellow bear and transcend the three realms, Ning immediately understood that the annihilation sword which his old friend had given him was a Tao of transcendence. So long as his true soul fused with the annihilation sword, he would be able to sever all barriers and escape the three realms. However, Ning wasn't willing to transcend. His parents were in the three realms, his master was in the three realms, and his Tao companion was in the three realms as well. How could Ning possibly transcend? The only way was for everyone to transcend together. But how could everyone transcend together? Chapter 1163. The War of the Three Realms had come to an end. The various gods and Buddhas were all in secluded meditation, focusing on their transcendence technique. Qi Hing was the perfect example, and he had completely inspired the gods of the three realms in their passion for transcendence. Research on transcendence had become the mainstream of the three realms. Sever all barriers and become free. Break free from your shackles and see the truth. Teacher's words have already explained the Tao of transcendence. Thus, it is time to sever all barriers. Taoist three purities was all smiles as a streak of azure energy shot out from his head. Three golden immortal clones appeared within the Tushita palace. Da Qing, Yuqing, Shangqing, the three purities, they are all barriers. He waved his hand, causing the three clones to explode into nothingness. My body is a barrier as well. The golden immortal Taofather is a barrier as well. Everything is a barrier. Only the Tao of virtue is eternal. My Tao is the Tao of virtue. From this day forth, there is no more three purities. There is only the exalted celestial Lord of Tao and virtue. He slapped his palm against the top of his head, causing Taoist three purities to explode into a ball of azure light. Rumble! After this ball of azure light appeared, the entire three realms trembled violently once more. The vast azure light covered the skies, illuminating the three realms. This is transcendence? Someone else has transcended? Who? Who has transcended? Qi Hing had just transcended not too long ago. Now, someone else had. In this moment, the entire three realms was in an uproar. The path to transcendence was right before their eyes. Clink, a melodious chime rang out. Amidst the azure light, an azure lotus slowly began to take shape, then slowly bloomed. When the green lotus bloomed and turned into a lotus platform, a white-haired old man with an ancient appearance sat cross-legged on the green lotus platform with a smile on his face. Today I learned that the three purities are not me. I am Taoist virtue. Boundless light flashed, and an aura that seemed to transcend the three realms and the five elements began to emanate from the exalted celestial Lord of Tao and virtue. The three realms. Congratulations to the exalted celestial Lord of Tao and virtue for transcending the heavens and attaining the grand Tao. The three purities had transcended. In this moment, the immortals of the three realms felt their hearts blazing. So they could transcend. So they could transcendence. In addition, once they transcendence, their cultivation would not only transcendence but also transcendence. 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 And, Taoist three purities, yes. Secluded cultivation. If I don't transcend, I won't go out. With two consecutive successful examples, the path of transcendence was already in front of his eyes. Not only would he be able to resolve the danger of the catastrophe, but he would also be able to make great progress in his cultivation. Was there anything more important than the path of transcendence? As a result, no one cared about the war anymore. Bastard! Bastard! Damn bastard! Why did he stop? Why did he stop? This old man is so angry. Patriarch Demonheart, a true spirit downmerge expert, roared furiously. However, transcendence had become the mainstream of the three realms. Who would have the time to go to war? If we don't fight, this old man's plan can't be carried out. Old man Yuan furrowed his brow, his heart filled with an indescribable feeling. Now, transcendence was the mainstream, and no one was in the mood to fight. Old man Yuan suddenly realized that even though he had a belly full of schemes, there was no place for him to use them. Cut off all barriers? Cut off all barriers? The Maitreya Buddha sat cross-legged on the prayer mat and laughed heartily, his fat belly swaying. The three pure ones aren't the three pure ones. Qi Hing isn't Qi Hing, so Maitreya isn't Maitreya. So that was how it was. So that's how it is. My Tao is complete. The Maitreya Buddha roared with laughter as a pure white light radiated outwards. A white lotus throne supported the Maitreya Buddha as it slowly rose into the air. Yet another tremor of the three realms. To live in the face of death is nirvana. The white light in the sky dimmed and was extinguished. The lotus throne collapsed, and the golden body began to decay. Just like that, the Maitreya Buddha perished before the eyes of all living beings. Boom! Boundless light soared into the sky from within the ashes of destruction, and an even brighter and more resplendent lotus throne appeared. On the lotus platform, a fat Buddha was half lying with a smile on his face. The Maitreya Buddha is not me. I am nirvana. Buddhist light radiated outwards as the Maitreya Buddha transcended the three realms and attained the great Tao of nirvana. Congratulations, Buddha Nirvana, for transcending heaven and earth and attaining the great Tao. Compared to the previous two times, the Maitreya Buddha's actions were no longer as shocking. Many of the immortals and gods in seclusion didn't even raise their heads. Wasn't it just a step ahead? How could I be inferior to you? You might be able to leave quickly, but you might not be able to go far. By then, they would see who would be able to attain the eternal Omega Grand Tao. They were all golden immortals and Tao Fathers. Who would be inferior to the other? The immortals and gods all grew even more enthusiastic about transcendence. Naturally, Li Yu was delighted to see 100 schools of thought contending against each other. However, although these three have different methods in essence, there's nothing new about them. As far as I'm concerned, there's not much point in learning from them. They were all methods of severing one's own body. This was a far cry from the endless stream of transcendence techniques Li Yu had been hoping for. Amitabha and Tathagata are currently researching a method to deliver all living beings from torment. Ning is also pondering how to help his parents, master and Tao companion to transcendence. Not bad. That's more like it. If all of them used the same method, I would have played for nothing. Upon seeing Amitabha, Tathagata, and Ning's efforts, Li Yu felt quite appreciative. Thus, I need a different transcendence technique. Turning his head to look at Tathagata, Li Yu chuckled. I have a vow to attain the Tao. I'll let you deliver all living beings from torment. He stretched out a finger, tapping the screen of light within the great illusionary land. And then, Tathagata gained an epiphany. Buddhists cultivate the power of faith. This is the cause. Delivering all living beings from torment. This is the effect. Once I acquire the power of faith, I shall deliver all living beings from torment. Tathagata slowly opened his eyes, raising his head to look at Amitabha. Fellow Taoist, today I've gained insight into a vow technique. Perhaps I can deliver all living beings from torment, or perhaps I can sink into eternal oblivion. Fellow Taoist, would you be willing to travel alongside me? If I can deliver all living beings from torment, even if I sink into oblivion, I will have no regrets. Amitabha pressed his palms together, his face filled with benevolence. Then, let us deliver all living beings from torment. Tathagata's face was covered with smiles, and a vast aura of Buddhist light surged into the heavens. He stepped out of the cave abode, and golden lotuses bloomed beneath his feet. If I attain the supreme Bodhi, I will attain enlightenment. The Buddhist temple I reside in will possess immeasurable and inconceivable merit and solemnity. There is nothing like hell, hungry ghosts, beasts, flying and wriggling. All living beings, as well as the flaming Malua world. In the three evils Tao, in the next life, I will reincarnate and become Anyatarasamyaksambodhi. There will be no more evil. If one obtains the vow, one will become a Buddha. If one does not obtain the supreme enlightenment, one will not attain it. When the vow was made, heaven and earth shook and the great Tao resonated. For a moment, endless radiance illuminated the world. The aura of Buddha was vast and mighty, delivering all living beings from torment. I see. Amitabha, who was following behind Tathagata, heard Tathagata's vow and was instantly enlightened. He took a step forward and stood side by side with Tathagata, releasing his own aura of Buddha as he made the vow. When I become a Buddha, the light is immeasurable, illuminating all directions. If all living beings see my light and touch their bodies, they will be at ease and happy. They will be compassionate and do good deeds in the next life. If not, I will not attain enlightenment. When I become a Buddha, Tathagata and Amitabha made the 48 great vows together. The Buddhist aura was vast and mighty, saving all living beings. At this moment, all the Buddhist disciples, all the believers, and all the people who were willing to be saved turned into rays of light and merged into the Buddhist aura. To form such a huge karma, what are they doing? Do they still want to transcend by doing this? Seeing this scene, countless immortals were dumbfounded. Ha 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 ha. I see. Saving others is the same as saving oneself. At this moment, Tathagata and Amitabha looked at each other and laughed, saying in unison, I am willing to become a boat and save all living beings from the sea of suffering. The mighty Buddhist aura soared into the sky. Tathagata and Amitabha's golden bodies instantly collapsed, turning into a ray of light that shot into the sky. An aura that transcended the three realms surged in this ray of light. This works. Seeing this scene, countless immortals trembled. Once the hole in one's brain was opened, one's thoughts would be broad. The flowers of transcendence would definitely bloom everywhere. Chapter 1164. I am the Holy Emperor of the human race. Xianyuan raised the Xianyuan sword and looked at the holy light on the sword. He then looked at the humans in the three realms and understood. The prosperity of the human Tao lies in reproduction. The path of holy virtue lies in gathering the masses. Therefore, my path of holy virtue, my path of transcendence, is the path of reproduction. After comprehending the great Tao, Xianyuan opened up a harem and had 3,000 women. Then, he ascended and transcended the world. Damn! That's possible? The immortals of the three realms were stunned by Xuanyuan's path of transcendence. Shennong said, Food is the most important thing to the people. The human Tao should reproduce and naturally have ample food and clothing. This action is of boundless virtue. Then, he began to farm. He planted crops in every corner of the three realms. Even the cold moon palace was filled with all kinds of grains and vegetables by Shennong. If Hoi hadn't almost beaten him up, Shennong would have chopped down the osmanthus tree and used it for farming. Autumn had arrived, and the bountiful harvest was abundant. Shennong carried a basket full of grains on his back and transcended. There are people, food, and a house to live in, so I'm going to build a house. He built houses on flat land, mountains, and water. Yu Chao was even more ruthless than a developer. Scram! If you chop down the osmanthus tree again, I'll beat you to death. Hoi flew into a rage when he saw the osmanthus tree with only one branch left. He picked up his staff and chased Yu Chao out. No need to chop, it's enough. I'm here to say goodbye. Yu Chao waved his hand with a smile and transformed into a beam of light that rushed out of the three realms. Who said that fighting can't lead to transcendence? I'll transcend for you to see. The monkey held the Jingu staff and beat up everyone in the three realms. He beat up everyone until they were full of bumps and was beaten up by others. Then, he raised the Jingu staff and pierced the sky. You monkey, master hasn't even left yet and you're leaving first? Don't run, I'll whip you a few times with my ferule first. Patriarch Subhuti, who had been teaching disciples everywhere, picked up his ferule and chased after the monkey. And just like that, he chased the monkey out of the three realms. There are those who transcend by having 3,000 maidens, those who transcend by farming, those who transcend by building houses, those who transcend by fighting, and those who transcend by beating their disciples? The deities of the three realms had completely opened their minds. Time continued to pass, and more people escaped. There were also more and more methods to transcend. The calamity of Terminus that would destroy the three dimensions seemed to have become a peerless fortuitous encounter. The entire world of cultivation became even more prosperous. No! We can't let this go on. The three realms were in an excellent state of affairs. Old Man Yuan, the evil villain of the three realms, could no longer sit still. If you can transcend by doing this, then, can I also transcend by wreaking havoc in the three realms? Old Man Yuan rose to his feet, his eyes as cold as ice. During the Tao lectures at the Arcane Emperor Palace, the grand Tao that I gained insight into was the Tao of destruction. Destroying the three realms is my path towards the grand Tao, my method of transcendence. He now understood that Old Man Yuan's plan to bring disaster to the three realms had officially begun. Heart Force, summon the golems! One invisible stream of heart force after another shot out like threads, summoning the countless major powers that Old Man Yuan had enslaved over the course of countless years. Summon these golems, and then have them wreak havoc in the three realms. Have them destroy this world. Not only will I be able to acquire a world heart and become a world god, but I'll also be able to destroy the three realms. I'll be able to transcend the Tao of destruction and transcend the Tao of heaven and earth. Old Man Yuan raised his head to stare at the three realms, a savage look on his face as a boundless aura of destruction began to rise from behind him. Swish, swish, swish. One figure after another with auras of awe-inspiring might broke through the skies, howling through the skies as they landed by Old Man Yuan's side. In but a few moments, more than 100,000 immortals and divinities had gathered by Old Man Yuan's side. Elder gods included Gonggong, Patriarch Ink Bamboo, and a few others. Golden immortals and Taofathers such as Fuxi and more than 100 others. As for pure Yang true immortals and celestial immortals, there were simply too many to count. Ha 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 ha. I've been planning for countless years, and I've already gathered an enormous amount of power. You don't want to fight, all you want to transcend? Excellent. The supreme figures of Pengu and Seamless have both reached a level of transcendent power. Now I am the most powerful force in the three realms. My slaves, destroy this world for me. Old Man Yuan stood there in midair, raising his hands and roaring madly towards the heavens. An awesome aura of destruction surged into the heavens, filling the skies with unparalleled savagery. And then, what's going on? Old Man Yuan suddenly realized, to his astonishment, that after he had given the order to destroy the three realms, not a single one of his slaves had moved. Instead, all of them had savage looks on their faces as they gritted their teeth and stared at him. What's going on? What's going on? My soul enslavement seal is clearly still there. Why aren't these slaves obeying my orders? Old Man Yuan's heart clenched as he furiously activated his heart force. He howled madly, Go! Go destroy this world for me. You are my slaves. You must obey my orders. Go. Slaves. Before Old Man Yuan could finish his words, he was interrupted by a cold laugh. Elder God Gonggong stared coldly at Old Man Yuan. The likes of you think you can enslave us? We broke free of your soul shackles long ago. More than 100,000 immortals surrounded Old Man Yuan, their cold, murderous auras filling the skies. You natives of the three realms, how is this possible? How could you natives possibly break free from my soul enslavement? This is impossible. Old Man Yuan began to howl hysterically. That's because Taofather Black Yellow bestowed upon you the Heartcom mantra. Your soul enslavement is nothing in the face of Taofather Black Yellow. Fushi stared coldly at Old Man Yuan. Do you know why we haven't completely destroyed your soul shackles? It's to deal with you. Fushi slowly raised his arm, then let out a loud roar. Destroy the soul shackles. Crunch. It was as though one of the chains had suddenly shattered. More than 100,000 immortals simultaneously used the Heartcom mantra to shatter the clump of black energy that had been suppressed within Old Man Yuan's mind. A miserable scream rang out as Old Man Yuan clutched at his head, his entire body trembling as he collapsed to the ground. The soul shackles within the souls of every single immortal god came from a strand of Old Man Yuan's soul. For more than 100,000 souls to be destroyed at the same time, how terrifying was the pain of having one's soul destroyed. In this moment, Old Man Yuan didn't even have the energy to breathe. Die. More than 100,000 immortals simultaneously unleashed a single spell. A blinding light filled the skies, completely drowning Old Man Yuan within it. Rumble, after a single strike, Old Man Yuan died without leaving behind even a speck of dust. I've waited so long for you to appear. Otherwise, I would have transcended long ago. Awe-inspiring watery light surged into the air as Gonggong's body howled through the skies. The chains of fate have been broken. We are now in control of our own destinies. Fellow Taoists, Fushi will be leaving first. Moments later, Fushi also transcended the three realms. Old Man Yuan had been conned to death. Patriarch Demonheart was unable to change the course of events for the three realms. Everything was going according to Li Yu's plan. P.S. I recommend my friend's new book, Future Heavenly Monarchs Reborn. I've read it before. It's quite creative. It's worth a read. Chapter 1165. Time flowed on, one day at a time. In the blink of an eye, another 1,000 years had passed. More and more people in the three realms were transcending. In the past 1,000 years, people discovered that it wasn't just Taofathers who could transcend. Pure Yang true immortals, celestial immortals, earth immortals, and even ordinary mortals, so long as they developed their own transcendence techniques, were able to do so as well. Within the borders of the Grand Xia dynasty, an ordinary old carpenter, after carving out a wooden sculpture, actually ascended into the clouds and transcended the three realms. This spectacle completely stunned the immortals and gods of the three realms. If they couldn't compare to elder gods or Taofathers, then so be it. Could it be that they couldn't even compare to mortals? The tide of transcendence grew even more ferocious and unstoppable. The entire world sought to transcend. In fact, in a single day, 1,000 people simultaneously transcended. What should I do? Taofather Darknorth, Ji Ning, stared at his parents, his master, Yu Wei, Spring Grass, Autumn Leaf, and the other friends within his estate, a look of worry on his face. When Brother Qi transcends, I'll be able to transcend as well. However, in the past 2,000 years, I still haven't been able to find a way to allow my friends and family to transcend together. The Buddha was able to deliver all living beings, while the Holy Emperor ascended into the clouds and took away many people. However, I don't wish for my friends and family to be left with only their true souls. I don't wish for them to walk this path of transcendence. There's an old saying on earth, When a man achieves the Tao, even his friends and family can ascend to the heavens. I don't wish for my friends and family to ascend to the heavens. I only wish for my friends and family to ascend to the heavens. Ning walked out of his estate, then raised his head to look at the three realms. There were very few people left in the three realms. Even the ordinary mortals were much, much fewer than before. The Buddha had delivered all living beings and taken away a portion of them. When the Holy Emperor of humanity had transcended, he had each taken away a portion of them. Swearin had used the kindred flame legacy to take away a large portion of them. There weren't many people left. The transcendence tide had swept through the three realms. By now, most of the mortals who remained in the three realms weren't willing to transcend with others. They wanted to leave with their friends and family. My thoughts are different from the others. I don't only want to keep the true spirits of my friends and family. I want to bring them out in one piece. Turning his head to look towards the direction of the estate, Ning saw the joyous laughter of the others. He took a deep breath. I will definitely succeed. I will definitely bring all of you out in one piece. Time was still passing. Ning walked out of his estate, beginning to wander through the three realms. From the Ji clan's West Prefecture city to Serpentwing Lake, to Anton City, to the imperial capital of the Grand Xia. He looked at the sky, looked at the earth, looked at the people, looked at everything in his memories, looked at all the traces he had left behind in the three realms. This is my life. These are all my memories. All of this. I can't sever it. You can't cut it off either. My heart doesn't allow me to do that. Heart? In this moment, Ning's entire body trembled as a flash of insight occurred to him. When we escaped from the world within the painting, I didn't sever my own body either. I severed the entire world. My heart is fearless, my heart is fearless. My heart encompasses heaven and earth. How can I not accept my family and friends? My heart is like a sword. Naturally, he should sever the shackles. Naturally, he should take my family and friends with him and sever a path to the heavens. With a wave of his hand, the Dark North swords flew into Ning's hands. The Annihilation sword was activated, and a five-colored light began to swirl around the blade. The Annihilation sword? No. The Annihilation sword is the sword of my fellow countrymen, not my sword. My sword is a sword of faith, a sword of the mind. The five-colored light on the blade instantly dissipated, leaving behind only a streak of absolute, resolute sword intent that soared into the heavens from the blade. The sword of the mind, sever the shackles. The sword of faith, encompass heaven and earth. The sword chopped out, and a vast sword-light soared into the heavens. In this moment, all of the family and friends in Ning's memories involuntarily flew out and were surrounded by this streak of sword light. The Ji clan's West Prefecture city flew out. Serpentwing Lake flew out. Anton City flew out. Everything in Ning's memories flew out. All of them merged into the sword light. Let us transcend. Ning's body instantly collapsed, transforming into a streak of sword light that pierced through the heavens and the earth. Carrying his family and friends, carrying everything in his memories, he charged into the heavens in an awe-inspiring manner. When a man achieved the Tao, his family and friends would ascend to the heavens as well. Truly, all his family and friends would ascend to the heavens. Even the ants in Ning's old home were taken away by Ning. Rumble, the heavens and the earth shook and the void trembled. This awe-inspiring streak of sword light forced its way out of this world. Just like that, it forcefully transcended. Even this is possible? Upon seeing this, the remaining immortals and gods who had yet to transcend all had looks of astonishment on their faces. Not only did he bring his family and friends to transcend, he even brought his house with him? He even brought his furniture with him. He even brought the ants in the corners of his house with him? And so, the remaining immortals and gods felt even more confident in their ability to transcend. However, Big Boss Li said, "I'm done with this." In summary, there are only three paths to transcendence. The first is the path of essence, energy, and soul. The monkey had pierced through the heavens, using his powerful body and his unyielding will to battle to break through the chains and transcend the three realms. This was a path that involved a combination of the body and the soul. The Buddha's method of delivering all living beings was a purely mental technique. Ning's method of bringing all of his memories to transcend was also a mental technique. The method of transcendence used by the Holy Emperor of Humanity involved the merging of one's qi and one's will, the heart, the energy, and the body. These were the fundamental aspects of transcendence. Through this experiment, I've been enlightened as well. I've gained new insights into my own path of nothing in the primordial chaos. Liu raised his head, a hint of a smile on his face. My path of nothing in the primordial chaos also involves the heart, the energy, and the body. His body would transform into primordial chaos. His cultivation would transform into primordial chaos. Finally, his mind would transform into primordial chaos. Everything would return to primordial chaos. This was the path of nothing in the primordial chaos. However, as for how exactly I should go about this, I'll have to carefully analyze it. Essence, qi, and spirit, these three treasures, no matter which part, were indispensable. If he didn't do it properly and ended up losing all of them, he wouldn't even have a place to cry. I've already figured out the method, and I understand the principles behind how I should proceed. All that's left is to do a few more experiments. Liu turned his head to stare outside the void, towards the old black yak in the Sith universe. That fellow, isn't he conducting experiments on me right now? However, there was no need for the experiments of the three realms to continue. Then let's wrap things up properly. With a flick of his finger, time within the great illusionary land began to accelerate. In the blink of an eye, 10,000 years had passed. Although countless people had transcended, there were still many people left in the three realms. They no longer had a chance. The end of the apocalypse had arrived. Heaven and earth had collapsed. The Grand Tao no longer existed. All living things were destroyed. Boundless destruction exploded forth. The entire three realms was instantly reduced to nothing. Heaven and earth of the three realms, as well as the remaining living creatures of the three realms, everything was annihilated. Everything was destroyed. Our home is gone, just like that. In this moment, all of the people who had transcended from the three realms stared bitterly at the empty void before them, tears rolling down their cheeks. Chapter 1166. In the end, heaven and earth will return to silence, and the primordial chaos will give birth to a new world. Tathagata stared at the primordial chaos of the three realms, then pressed his palms together and let out a long sigh. Unfortunately, the new world will no longer be our home. Our home will be destroyed, just like that, but there's nothing we can do. Even if we transcend, we won't be able to reverse time. Our cultivation is simply too weak. Ning let out a long sigh. He was the one who felt this the most. Although he had brought everything he had with him, the more he did, the more unwilling he felt to part with the three realms. Mercy, teacher! Mercy, teacher! The holy emperor of Fuxi suddenly fell to his knees, repeatedly kowtowing. Right. We can't do it, but Taofather Black Yellow definitely can. With Fuxi taking the lead, everyone hurriedly fell to their knees, repeatedly kowtowing. Mercy, teacher! Not bad. Not bad. Fuxi, this fellow, he's quite clever. Liu wanted to end this perfectly. Naturally, he couldn't reveal that all of this was fake. Using the excuse of reshaping the three realms was a good way to end things. Originally, Liu had been planning to enlighten someone and have him beg for mercy. Now that Fuxi had voluntarily stepped forward, this was exactly what Liu wanted. Ugh, a long, long sigh. As the aura of black-yellow began to surge, Li Yu's figure appeared in front of everyone. You have all transcended the 3 realms long ago. The path of cultivation is vast and boundless. How can you be restricted to one place? Why be so sentimental? Although reshaping the 3 realms was his goal, he still had to put on an act. Only when one's home is at peace can one relax and travel far. Please be merciful, teacher. Fushi bowed deeply yet again. Please be merciful, teacher. All of the cultivators and mortals who had transcended the 3 realms fell to their knees before Li Yu, repeatedly begging for mercy. Very well. Li Yu sighed, then shook his head. The 3 realms is the place where I once lectured on the Tao. It is quite a pity that it is destroyed just like that. I'll grant you your wish. With a wave of his hand, time began to reverse. It was like a movie being rewound. Within the primordial chaos, a new world slowly began to manifest. Time flowed backward, and everything that had once disappeared reappeared in front of everyone. The destroyed earth, the shattered void, and the annihilated living beings appeared one by one. Everything reappeared, and everything returned to its original state. He'd reversed time in such a casual manner and restored the 3 dimensions from destruction, and all of them were both shocked and delighted when they saw this scene. Thank you, teacher. Now that the 3 realms had been restored, the people of the 3 realms who were unable to contain their joy repeatedly kowtowed in thanks. Reversing time will not allow the 3 realms to escape the fate of destruction. But, since I have made my move, let's push back the date of this terminating nirvana to 1 trillion eras later. Li Yu stretched out his hand and pressed down, and an invisible ripple swept through the 3 realms. In an instant, all of them clearly sensed that the terminus energy that suffused the 3 dimensions had vanished without a trace, and the nirvana tribulation of terminus had retreated to an extremely distant period of time. It's not that I don't want to permanently eliminate the 3 realms apocalypse. This was because the 3 realms were a part of the wild universe. If I were to eliminate the apocalypse tribulation of the 3 realms, it would affect the future Daos of eternal Omega autarchs who would rule over the wild universe. Li Yu turned his head to look at everyone, pausing momentarily on Ning. Smiling, he said, "Perhaps in the future, one of you will become an Omega autarch and rule over the wild universe." Thank you, teacher. Omega autarchs and whatnot were simply too far off in the future. None of them dared to hope for such a thing. Most of the people you've brought out have only their true souls left. Even if they were reincarnated, they would still be damaged. It's best that they all recover. Waving his hand, he caused the people who had been brought out by the Buddha, the people who had been brought out by the sacred emperor, the people who had been brought out by Ning, and the people who had been brought out by the other Taofathers to transform into streaks of light that entered the remade 3 realms. All of you go back as well. Li Yu looked at the transcendents, then waved his hand. All of them involuntarily rose into the air and entered the 3 realms. 3 realms, return. He waved his hand, causing the void to tremble slightly. It was as though the dark clouds that had been covering the 3 realms had been dispelled, revealing the once vibrant 3 realms to everyone. Everything was restored to the moment before the apocalypse tribulation had been born. Everything in the entire world had returned to normal. In fact, even those who had died in the flames of war, and those who had failed to transcend, had all been restored to their original states. It was as though the apocalypse tribulation of the 3 realms had never occurred. The only 2 people who had died were Old Man Yuan and the Daomerge Patriarch Demonheart. Everyone else, down to an ant, had been restored to their original states. If it wasn't for the fact that the Transcendents could still sense the explosive increase in power within their bodies, as well as the fact that they had transcended beyond the 3 realms and were no longer bound by the 5 elements, they would have believed that everything had been nothing more than a dream. Teacher, what level is he at, exactly? Such a heaven-defying divine ability. With a wave of his hand, he was able to restore a vast, boundless world to its original state. Every single living being, every single detail, would be restored to its original state. This divine ability was absolutely terrifying. "Thank you, teacher." "Thank you, Dowfather Black Yellow." At this moment, everyone in the three realms kowtowed in unison. "The matter of the three realms is over. Cultivate well. I'll take my leave now." Black-yellow energy surged as Li Yu's figure drifted away. With each step he took, the lotuses beneath his feet were extinguished. His entire body glowed with auspicious light, and immortal light rained down from the sky like rain. Moments later, his ethereal figure had vanished without a trace. Teacher truly is an expert of the Tao. Upon seeing this, everyone felt even more reverence in their hearts. In reality, what was reshaping the three realms? Li Yu had merely retracted the great illusionary realm. The three realms transcendence experiment has been completed. Now, it's time to go torment the old Black Yak. With a wave of his hand, the black-yellow palace in the primordial chaos outside the three realms instantly vanished. Li Yu strode forward and arrived at the shattered land of the continent of Genesis. My clone has fused with the continent of Genesis, which is still in the process of being reborn. Li Yu had long since understood the principles of the creation and destruction of matter and the principles of the birth of order. He hadn't comprehended anything new from the reborn continent of Genesis, nor would anything new appear. Then, there's no value in keeping it. With a wave of his hand, the clone that had fused with the world that was in the process of being reborn instantly left the world and was recalled back. Old Black Yak, has it reached the critical moment? The method of transforming into nothingness that Li Yu had previously given was based on his own imagination. Now, through the three realms experiment, Li Yu discovered that there were still many mistakes in his previous ideas. Then, let him experiment with the body transforming into nothingness technique that I've comprehended. With a flick of his finger, the old Black Yak, who was cultivating in seclusion in the Sith universe facing the Boundary Monument, suddenly comprehended a method of body transforming into nothingness. Ha 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 ha! I've finally succeeded. I can already control the Boundary Monument and become the master of everything in the origin spacetime. The old Black Yak was wild with joy and laughed out loud. Then, he calmed his mind and began to operate the body transforming into nothingness technique that he had comprehended. Bang! With an earth-shattering explosion, a huge hole was blasted open in the Sith universe. Then the old Black Yak was gone just like that. Sigh. The experiment failed. If there are successes, there will naturally be failures. This is very normal. Right? Li Yu shook his head and let out a long sigh. The old Black Yak could be considered to have sacrificed himself for His Majesty Emperor Yu's scientific research. Death could be as light as a feather or as heavy as Mount Tai. The old Black Yak shouldn't even be considered a feather, right? Chapter 1167. The Tao of Primordial Chaos truly is difficult. Li Yu let out a long sigh. Even an Omega autarch like the old Black Yak couldn't withstand a single experiment. For now, there isn't anyone in this world who can be my test subject. Unless one reached a certain level of power, there was no way one would be able to train in the Primordial Chaos incarnation technique. They wouldn't even be qualified to experiment on it. Ning would one day become the autarch of Terminus, but that was too far away. In addition, this fellow countryman was far too familiar with him. He didn't want to make a move on him. Forget it. I'll just go screw people over in other worlds. A streak of light flashed, and Li Yu's body instantly vanished. He left this world and returned to the immortal estate. There should be a place where I can experiment on many subjects. Li Yu stepped out of the immortal estate, instantly appearing in the primordial chaos outside the prime world. He then arrived at the peak of the spikes on the azure wall. Last time, I was able to see the beyond the heavens of Celestial Emperor Huangtian's world through my own statue. Upon arriving at the peak of the spikes, Li Yu had a rather complicated look on his face as he stared at the statue of himself. He couldn't figure out the origins of this place at all. There were simply too many secrets hidden within. Whether it's a secret or a plot, they'll all be revealed one day. Right now, the most important thing for me is to figure out my own path of advancement. Li Yu took a deep breath, then walked towards the statue. I wonder if I'll be able to see the beyond the heavens this time as well? He reached out and pressed his hand against the statue. Arcane yellow energy surged as the laws intertwined, causing the statue to rumble. For a moment, Li Yu felt as though he had become one with the statue. Boundless light flowed through the statue, tearing through spacetime itself. A vast, boundless world appeared before Li Yu's eyes. Kill! Battle cries shook the heavens. The flames of war filled the entire world, causing the heavens to fall and the earth to crack. As expected, I've seen the beyond the heavens again. This familiar scene was none other than the scene of the final battle in the beyond the heavens. It was like a replay, and the scene he had seen last time once more appeared before Li Yu's eyes. This place. What time period is this? Seeing the scene in front of him, Li Yu hurriedly connected to Xiaohao's Supreme Palace and Zhou Yi's Supreme Heavenly Book through the system. It's different. The timeline is completely different. The scene he saw through the system connection was completely different from what he was seeing now. According to Heavenly Emperor Huang's timeline, only a few thousand years have passed since I left. But from what I saw through the statue, it was clearly a very, very long time in the future. Li Yu frowned slightly. Could it be that the statue can allow me to travel to any time period in the world that I have experienced? It's just that I haven't fully mastered this function yet. As expected, the statue still hid many secrets. Whatever. There must be many powerful beings in the world above the high heavens. I can use them for my experiments. Li Yu stared at the above the heavens that appeared in front of him. He mustered all the strength in his body and struggled violently. With a cracking sound, as if a chain had been broken, Li Yu's figure suddenly broke free from the statue. Boom! The void shook violently, and as if glass had been shattered, cracks appeared in front of Li Yu. Buzz buzz, as if some restriction had been triggered, a colorless and transparent glazed light burst out from the shattered void. Spatial power? Such an enormous spatial power? This glazed light arrived in an instant. Li Yu hurriedly waved his hand to block it, releasing the power of chaotic disorder to annihilate all order and laws. However, how is this possible? My disorder of primal chaos is ineffective against this spatial power? As Li Yu's face was filled with shock, this spatial power instantly swept over. The cracks that appeared in the void instantly closed, and Li Yu was swept into this spatial power. Heaven and earth changed and spacetime flowed. In an instant, Li Yu was swept into an inexplicable spacetime by this spatial power. In front of him was a vast and boundless chaotic void. Even with Li Yu's cultivation level and his control of the 3,000 great Daos, all order and laws had been transformed into primal chaos. He still couldn't see the end of this void. Just where is this place? In the endless universe, in any world, Li Yu could be considered a peak existence. But this world before him exerted enormous pressure on Li Yu, making him feel extremely small and insignificant. I can clearly sense the great Tao laws, but I can't control the laws of this world? Releasing his divine soul and probing the laws of this world, Li Yu discovered that these laws were still the 3,000 great Daos, not some strange and unknown law. However, even with Li Yu's lawless primal chaos realm, he was still unable to control the laws of heaven and earth that could be seen at a glance. This place is definitely not above the heavens. Back in Celestial Emperor Huang's world, Liu had entered above the heavens once when he sealed the spatial hole. This world was completely different from above the heavens. I came here through the spikes of the origin world. Then, does this place have something to do with the secrets of the origin world? Vigilant, Liu pressed the profound amber sword at his waist and said coldly, I'd like to see what's so special about this place. He couldn't sense the end of this world, nor could he find anything special about it. In fact, he couldn't even sense any life in this vast and boundless chaotic void. I don't believe that I can't find any clues after traversing this void. Taking a step forward, Liu's figure drifted in and out of the chaotic void. In the blink of an eye, he had traversed the boundless void. Even though he couldn't control the laws of this world, Liu's strength came from his own body, so he could still traverse through space at will. Nothing at all. After searching for 3 whole days in this chaotic void, Liu still couldn't find anything even though he had traversed the boundless void. It was as if this place was completely empty. This is great. I can't even find my way back. Liu gloomily discovered that he was actually trapped in this chaotic void. He couldn't sense the spikes, couldn't sense the space of the immortal mansion, and even the system couldn't let him return. System, do you know what this place is? With no other way, Liu could only ask the system for help. This is the land of origin. The land of origin? What's the land of origin? Liu was very unfamiliar with the term, land of origin. The origin of all worlds, space-time, matter, laws, and everything is called the land of origin. The system's voice was still rigid and cold. When the user enters the land of origin and is affected by the laws of the land of origin, the system can't locate spacetime. Only when the user unlocks Level 3 authority will the system have the ability to traverse spacetime from the land of origin. So, I'm trapped here? Liu's face was gloomy. Am I digging my own grave? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.